Oh, hey everybody. Welcome to episode 15 of the Deadpan Diaries. Thank you to Cobra for setting up. Bronze here, alive. She was just talking about how she doesn't know how to run a Discord. It's amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, because I don't.
You're 30, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What?
There shouldn't be anything in this world that I can do. No, actually I can't. That's not
It's
true. No, I
no,
never mind, no.
it's perms. It's the permissions. Like,
Well, I was about to take credit for something I can't. I have really great mods like Cobra and stuff like that that run my Discord. I probably couldn't
see?
either.
Yeah.
You have good mods too, though, as well. I know that.
Yeah, no, I have a really amazing community in general.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep on top of things. I have like too much on my plate because I take on too much, and
Yeah.
they so seamlessly are like, I'm gonna help you arrange for today's division raid because
Oh, that's nice.
I'm gonna blow my brains out if I have to organize getting
Yeah.
more than three people together at any given time.
I'd want to do an episode on what it takes to be a streamer, but I think it would just come off as us bitching and whining about how hard it is for like 2 hours, which I don't
Yeah,
think is
and
constructive. But it is interesting. There's a lot of
yeah.
people that like, because there's that idea out there, right, where people are like, "You play video games?" Like, no, I play video games outwardly, and then
Mhm.
the other 10 hours are managing communities and 5 different social medias and stuff like that. And it's tough.
Mhm.
It is tough.
Especially doing it well. But I think the thing is that there's so many streamers who I feel like go out of their way to talk about how streaming is harder than a normal job,
Yeah.
and so it is like a cringy topic now,
Yes.
like, just because there's so many streamers that act like streaming is the hardest thing in the world, and
Yep.
to me it's like what makes streaming difficult isn't the streaming, it's managing your own business. So it's less
Yeah.
something that's specific to streamers and more just like any business owner,
Uh huh.
like any private business owner probably goes through what we go through.
And just dealing with people. Yeah, you're exactly right. I think
Yeah.
maybe that's the topic because I think that's interesting. Try to remember this, but like this
Because this
happens.
isn't the first small business I've ran. I worked really closely with the owner of a store, and it was
Wow,
the
now we're
same
just
stuff.
bragging.
Well, I mean, like
I
it was
started Google myself, but yeah, go ahead, tell your story. It's fine.
no, we're talking about like a small private business, like
Yeah,
like a store. And I always thought it was so simple, but like coming into streaming, I came into it knowing how and like how difficult it is to gain traction because that was like our whole thing is like how do we get more followers on Facebook,
yeah.
how do we get more like reviews on Yelp, and like maybe we should give people like something free every time they give us a good review, like all that. So small business owners probably understand our pain as streamers more so than anybody else.
What I was gonna say, and this is what's like the huge pitfall for every human, is anytime you start to your language starts to say nobody understands but or this is so
Oh
hard,
yeah.
there's like this natural thing that people do where they're like, oh no, that's not true. I lost an arm to a shark. And then to that person, somebody else will be like, both my parents died in a fire yesterday, and I set the fire. And they'll be like, Jesus Christ, how are you dealing with that? Like, I think when you get away from the language of my job is so hard and harder,
Hmm.
or my suffering is so bad and so much worse, that then more people can identify. And
Yeah.
that's why whenever I talk about streaming, I just talk about being hard. I don't ever get into the like, well, it's way harder than this job I had as a restaurant server. Like that was one thing, but and then because then you're alienating people, but also you're like challenging people to be like, my job is I'm an ER nurse in Oakland, and yesterday I had to hold a guy's neck wound that he did to himself. He was like, okay, what, you win or something?
Yeah, but I feel like that crops up no matter like what language you use. You could be sitting there and be like, "Yeah, I'm just having a rough day." I forgot what I was talking about.
Yeah,
I was like, I was talking about travel anxiety. I was like, I get a lot of travel anxiety and I'm going to be away from home for 7 days for work and it's a good opportunity. I keep telling myself that, but the idea of not sleeping in my bed for 7 days is like making me crazy because
yeah.
I have like real travel anxiety. Not sleeping in my house usually means I don't sleep. So the idea of doing that for 7 days, and somebody literally was like, "Some people don't get to travel." Da, da, da. And I was like, "Oh my fucking god!"
No, no, I think it's undisputed that it pops up no matter what. I'm just saying you'd never try to encourage it, and then when it does pop up, try to educate those people and always be
Mhm.
like, that sucks too. Both our things
Yeah.
can suck, and I'm sorry that you dealt with that. And why don't you talk to me about why you can't travel and how what's that's like, you know, because
Hmm.
the conversation, and this is like in real life too, it happens all the time, right? Like you're at a party and you're just like, I just can't. Yesterday I had to fire a guy. He was a piece of shit, and the other person's like, I never get to fire anyone because I've been unemployed for 5 years. And you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's
ugh,
like that Debbie Downer syndrome or
yeah,
the one-upism.
yep,
It's kind of weird. It's funny because I feel I get in some trouble when I say this, but like
go on,
being a minority, but people expect me to say certain things and then I say things that aren't in line with that and they get
hmm,
upset. But I feel like that's the problem when we talk about white privilege is like you're essentially telling somebody, well, my life is harder than yours because you're white. And there's not a person on this planet that thinks that their life is easy. Like
right,
you could take the wealthiest person and they will tell you that they're stressed and they will tell you like it doesn't matter who it is. There's not a person I've met that will sit there and say that their life is easy.
right,
And I think that's the hard part when we start talking about privilege is like so many people of color will immediately be like, oh, well, you have white privilege. And there's people out there that have awful lives. Like, I'm sorry, but
oh
they
yeah,
are. And telling them that they have privilege is like, it just kind of shuts the conversation down because of like what you're talking about. Because
hmm,
immediately they'll sit there and say, well, I actually, grew up with a single mom who worked 3 jobs. And to a certain extent, they're right. So, I mean, the reverse of that argument is like, yeah, but if you were black, would it be even more difficult? If it was the same situation with a
right,
black person, that's a whole different conversation. But like, it's funny because like that's why I feel like those conversations aren't useful,
yeah.
or I don't know the word for
Well,
that.
the angle of
Or
this being taken is incorrect in my opinion. So like that conversation happens all the time, and people get offended on both sides, and I think it's funny because a wall gets thrown up. Because let's it's experience first of all. Everyone has shit. Everyone. There's a
Mhm.
person. I mean, one of the most harrowing, scary pictures I've ever seen is Robin Williams with a gigantic grin on his face, and then a few days later he takes his own life. You know, and that's a guy
Yeah.
that's incredibly loved, incredibly hilarious, one of the most talented, brilliant people on planet Earth, and they were not happy enough to the point where they ended their life. And this is not supposed to be like some end all be all argument. The point is, everyone has their shit. So whenever you get into an arms race conversation of like, well, I'm a person of color, so mine's worse than yours, here's the thing. Even if that's true,
Mhm.
there's not going to be a person that hears that and is swayed by that argument. Instead,
Right.
be compassionate to each other. And that's the hope, right? Because if you go up against someone where you're like, I've been having a tough time. I dealt with some racism and sexism, and this is really battering me down. And the other person doesn't hear that, and instead of like, yeah, well, I had to put my dog down. That's way worse. That's not a cool conversation to begin with. But if that other person's like, tell me about it. I'm sorry. I want to be your. Can I help? Is there
Mhm.
something you can, vent to me? Then that conversation goes back and forth, and it's awesome. But how many people can raise their hand where they were like, no, no, I proved to somebody I have a worse life than them, and then they at the end were beaten down and realized that even though I'm a white person, my life is worse. Nobody.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah. It never does. So I try to like avoid saying things like that because I feel like they never go somewhere productive. If I were to sit here and say like, well, being a woman in America is tough, there will be 10 people that pop out and tell me why being a dude is tough, which I'm sure it is for different reasons. But if I were to sit here and say, you know what, Jeff, my airplane lands at a really late time and I don't feel safe taking an Uber, you might be like, gosh, that I've never even thought about that. And we can
Yes.
have like a good conversation from there because that's true. I A lot of people get into Ubers and stuff like that and never think twice about it. And I have to every single time.
Yeah.
I have to think about that. And I don't think that if I were to sit here and say, well, it's hard being a woman, that's hard to relate to. But if I were to be like, oh, I really hate having, engagements late at night, or I don't really go to the after parties at PAX and
Hmm.
stuff because I don't want to Uber back late at night. That's something that maybe they could be like, oh gosh, I never even thought of that.
Yep.
That's like I get into Ubers and don't think twice about it. Maybe that's the case, or maybe it isn't. Maybe you're a dude and you're paranoid like I am too. I don't know, but it's just something that I think about. So I try
Hmm.
to like present things in that way as well.
Yeah, it's a perspective thing for me, and I think this is a good segue into what we're going to be talking about. But I do want to pull out one comment here, and Catalan saying it's still easier to be white and poor in the U.S. than black and poor, and that's exactly what Bronze is talking about. Like
Mhm.
speaking in wide sweeping generalities like that does nobody any favors. It really doesn't. If you're just like randomly saying that into the black abyss, people will be like, yeah, think that's generally true. But right now, there's somebody that's having a really shitty time, and that comment doesn't help them. White, black, Asian, Native American, whatever, any race. The idea that just like this race has it worse than this race. Nobody goes, thank God. I appreciate that. That feels really good. And there's a whole way to pull that apart like we just did, so I kind of feel like we'd be rehashing to go through that, but that's
Oh
kind of the
yeah.
comment I'm trying to talk about. Go ahead.
Because it depends a lot even on like what neighborhood you grew up in.
It's just personal experience.
Yeah,
It could be
like
neighborhood. You could be a rich
depending
person in the
on
most poor
yeah.
neighborhood and have a fucking shitty life. You could have a really shitty life.
Yeah.
And whenever we speak in really incredibly broad stroke generalities, I just don't know who that helps. Like, it just starts this weird debate where if you're like, black people have it worse than white people when they're poor. That's probably true. Yeah, but why are we saying that? Like, what is there? Are we setting up a policy right now to help that? In which case, yeah, let's engage. But if we're just saying that, you're going to start a conversation with people who are like, nope, I
Yeah,
was
people
raped
in
70
general don't
times.
like being generalized, which is what we're going to do when we talk about Twitch chat as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to
But
generalize all of you.
we're going to start with that, too. So anyways, yeah, good segue. So today's Deadpan Diaries, and I feel you're going to hear a lot of reoccurring themes because Bronze and I love to talk about our professional life, which is streaming. We're going to do the singular magnum opus episode on how to Twitch chat. But I'm going to say three things, and Bronze, add to this if you think of any. But in order to have this conversation on a constructive level, I want to say three things. First, to throw a wrench into the gears of what I'm about to say, not all Twitch chats are the same. So a lot of what we say is totally okay and totally wrong will be totally wrong and totally okay in other chats. And that's going to be kind of part of the experience we have to talk about. Bronze and I are not all-knowing superhumans that can speak on behalf of everyone on Twitch, and there's no single document that says this is how you Twitch chat. So this is more of a guideline, and ironically, a bunch of generalities, like we were just laughing about. But it's meant to be kind of a generic, this will help. The other two things I want to say is, number two, this is meant for people who care. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people who Twitch chat is not really something that they give a rat's ass about. Like when they pop in, they'll be like, that's a cute Puerto Rican boy. And they're just like, that's their 10 minutes that week on Twitch. They think it's funny because they were told they were funny in middle school. Bronze doesn't find it funny, she bans him. Is them watching this episode going to change their worldview? Maybe, maybe not. But if you don't care, then please don't fill up our conversation with being like, no, don't give a shit. It's like, okay, we get it. That is probably going to be covered in our conversation as well. And the third thing, and this is more just for my sanity, that you can't fix everyone. And you cannot, at the end of this conversation, I understand there will still always be trolls. I understand there will still be people that don't give a shit and say weird stuff. Please spend 0 seconds in the next hour or two telling us, well, you can't stop everyone. It's like, God, if I could shave off a pound of flesh every time that happened, just so you could see the pain that causes to my soul when someone says something so obvious, I'm like, where's the gasoline? I'm out. I want it right now. It's just so bad. So much I hate it. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty solid. I like that one.
Got very emotional there too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because like I was gonna say, you basically covered what I was gonna say, which is like when people are like, just ignore X, and you're like, and that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Because it's
you have to have thicker skin. It's like, oh God.
Just ignore those people. I'm like, oh God, I will gouge my eyeballs out right
it's
now.
It's like laser of God's sunlight pierces my skull. I'm like, I never thought of that. Oh my God. So this is going to be the rambliest of rambly episodes because there's no like 10 bullet points that I have, and we're just going to go through them because obviously Jasmine has her own ideas and I have mine. But like I said, I hope people use this as a living conversation to hear what we have to say, and then I'll be looking at the chat and see if you guys want to bounce some ideas off us or some, no, I disagrees, whatever, that kind of stuff. Like I said, just please try to avoid exactly what Braun said. If you're just going to spend the next 2 hours saying have thicker skin, just get out. Just get out now. And don't do it ironically either. I'll actually ban you, which will be something we'll talk about later. But let's get rambly. Let's get rambly. So I guess I'll start because it's one of the topics I want to start. Like I said, this is mostly geared towards people that care. But I think one of the ways we can kind of start with this is on a positive note. What are some of the kind of Twitch chat experiences or types of conversations that are really awesome and really pick up stuff? An example would be like someone in the chat not asking yes or no questions per se, and there's going to be a lot of asterisks here, by the way. It's not that it's wrong to ask yes or no questions, it's just that they don't foster conversation. So it's not like you're going to get banned or it's the worst, it just might not get responded to. So if someone's like, Jeff, do you still like comedy? Probably not respond to that. Because it's A, kind of a bad question, because of course I do, but B, it looks weird when I just kind of look at the chat and go, yeah, then I go back, or something like that. I will, and it can happen. But for instance, someone can be like, what are some types of comedy that really attract you, or what do you like? Or, you know, they kind of start up a conversation. And then that kind of Twitch chat interaction is really cool, and I really like that. Does that resound with you at all?
Oh yeah, because I have one that is probably like, you know how you said like it's like a personal to you type of thing?
Yeah.
Mine, my biggest like peeve, and I don't have that many, is like, is
Well,
this game worth $60? Or
right.
is this game worth the money? Because so many people come in and will say, is this game worth the money? And it's like a yes or no question, but it isn't, because ultimately $60 is worth different amounts to different people. And second of all, like, what I can understand being like, what do you think the gameplay time on this is? Or what is it you enjoy about this game? Or those
Yeah.
are all good questions. But asking, like, is this game good? Or is this game worth the money? Usually you might not get an answer, or I'll get it. Yeah, go buy it right now. And I will go back because it's like, it's such a weird fucking question. And that it's kind of like you said, like that yes or no answer question
Right.
is like sometimes so annoying or frustrating,
Yeah.
especially because you're on Twitch and you could just watch for 3 minutes and determine whether it's for you. I can understand asking clarifying questions like, oh, is this game more combat heavy? Because it seems like you've been talking to NPCs for 2 hours. Those are great questions, and I love because it fosters a
Yes.
conversation as opposed to just being like, "Is this game worth $60?"
I get locked up in it too because what's worth $60 to me is completely different from what's worth $60 to somebody else. Like, if I really have a good 5 hours or 6 hours of gameplay, I can afford that, and that's totally worth $60 to me. Somebody else, that's like their monthly budget for a video game, and that would be the
Yeah.
worst experience ever. So I always get locked up because if you ask such a vapid, empty question like that, I either have to unpack it for you and start answering on a really deep level. But here's the part, there's going to be a lot of this. Here's the part that's kind of sucky about that. If you don't ask a cool, unique question and start a conversation that way, and I have to unpack a lot of that, that's not the worst thing in the world by itself. But I'll be asked that about every game I play forever for 10 years or 20 years, however long I'm streaming. And sometimes people will pop that same question 30 times a day. So eventually, you just don't answer it. Or what can happen to me is if on a bad day, I'll get kind of paranoid about it. Like it's like kind of just like I'll get mad. It's a bad question, and I don't like that. So again, that person's not wrong. It's not bad of them to ask, and it's totally okay in a conversation like we're all standing around for you to be like, "Is that game worth $60?" And I'll look at you and be like, "Fuck no, dude." We'll like move on. But it's a
Mhm.
stream where there's a couple hundred people or whatever, and the mood, the vibe, all of that kind of matters. So if you want to contribute to that, like Ron said, a really great way is like, you've been kind of talking to NPCs for a long time. Is there some fighting going on here as well? And if so, what kind? And then you can kind of answer that and go into it. Or be like, this game's pretty cool. Have you checked out this other one that's just like it? And you can talk about that, those kind of stuff. But it's
Someone
harder.
asked me the best question
Yeah.
the other day when I was playing a game, and they were like, "Do you like this or Pathfinder Kingmaker?" Because I'm stuck between the two, and I was like, "Kingmaker." And I told them why. And I just love, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, or when they come in and ask chat and they're like, hey guys, I see Bronze is playing Judgment. How does she like it compared to Yakuza? They ask chat because chat hasn't answered that question 700 times today, you know? And
Yeah.
like my mods and my community will respond and be like, she loves it so far, or like she doesn't like it, or well, she's just kind of warming up, you know, or she's only because it's so much cooler. Like, I don't know what it is, which brings us to another thing. What there's like people in Twitch chat who don't engage with the chat, they just engage with the streamer.
Yeah.
Which, if you're trying to ingratiate yourself with the community, that's just about the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to go out of your way to like try to, but it seems like people will come in and ask me a question. I will notice that someone like Tachulu has answered it, and then they will ask me that question again
Yeah.
and again until I answer it. And I immediately, and this is probably bad, but human beings are built to make snap judgments. It's how we survive. It's literally how we've evolved. I will usually make a snap judgment that that person isn't worth engaging with because their question was answered and they just keep asking it. At that point, they just want my attention. It's not the question that they want answered. They just want attention. And I'm not, you guys don't pay me enough for me to run a daycare. Like, I know that sounds really shitty, but like, I'm not here to give you attention. Like, I'm not that kind of a female streamer. Uh,
And I'm going to say this a million times,
Kinda
but by the
shady.
way, that question is not villainous and evil in and of itself. What Bronze is talking about is a back and forth. Like, the streamer experience is so different from the Twitch chatter experience. So I have to I have to explain this a lot, but I feel like I haven't gotten tired of it yet because I think it's a good thing to talk about because there are a lot of people, and again, this just is something that comes up for a lot of us, but like there's a lot of people that create and weaponize. This is like last episode we kind of talked about this other experience where the Twitch streamer is on a one-on-one level with all of you and is totally open to talking about your personal stuff as long as you're that tier 3 sub motherfucker, you know, like and that's okay if that's their business and you're paying into that and you like that. But Bronze and I are very similar, and I think the perspective we're coming from is if someone pops in and asks questions of the chat, like, how's the chat doing? How you guys doing? How's everyone doing? Jeff, how you doing? Jasmine, how you doing? That's cool. That's like a nice person that pops in when someone's just like, Jasmine, hope you're doing okay. Not a bad thing to say, but if they come in every day and are just like, Bronze, do you like this game? Bronze, how you doing? You know, I can already tell you what her reaction is probably going to be.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too. People, like, if you have 5,000 people watching you, maybe you don't notice names as much. Bronze and I are staunchly, you know, small to medium-sized streamers. We know you fucking guys.
We do.
We see your
Yeah.
names. I
And I'll
read
clock
every
you in my
comment.
brain.
Yes. I read every comment. I absolutely do. And if I don't respond, it's not because I hate you or it's a terrible thing to do. It's because the mood that I kind of want is hopefully going to move in a different direction than just everyone being like, Jeff, how are you? Jeff, I saw your tweet. You look like you're tired or something? You grumpy? I'm like, I'm going to ignore that. Because you're the 17th person to ask me, and I don't want to keep telling my chat that I'm having a tough day, and I'm, you know, like, I can't do that. That creates a bad experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because when you have communities like ours, because we were just talking about how great our mods are, like someone will answer the question. Somebody will come in and be like, when are we going to go back to KOTOR? And I'll see Slendy write, like, we beat that game last week. And you're going to pick up KOTOR again? She beat that game last week. Here's a link to the VOD. She'll even fucking go the extra mile and do the work for them. Ever going back to KOTOR? What? And at that point, I'm like, I fucking clocked you from the first time you typed it, and she's answered your question 3 times. And you, that shit.
And that gets into the don'ts. So one of the easiest don'ts any streamer should be honest enough to tell you is don't spam your question in the chat. The the streamer has read it, and here's the protective side of that. They've read it. If they're not answering it, it's probably because they've already talked about it or they just don't want to talk about it. But the other part of this, and this is going to take a little bit of an ego check for all of us, your question is probably not that important either. If you're spamming, there's a fire behind you, and there's an actual fire behind the streamer, then yes, please spam that. But if you're just like, Jeff, have you been working out? Jeff, have you been working out? Jeff, have you been working out? Jeff! And
yeah.
that's not okay. That's not good. It's not the worst thing in the world, again, like we said. And again, the question in a vacuum is okay. But as far as Twitch chatters go, if everyone just spammed until they get acknowledged, think of the experience that would be for anyone. It'd be a nightmare.
Also not, this is going to sound kind of fucky, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It's a weird word.
I like it.
You're not entitled to an answer. So gauge what is happening on screen and take into account the delay. Like if I'm in the middle of a boss fight and you ask me a question and I don't answer it, and then I get out of the boss fight and you ask me again, I would deem that acceptable because there's a good chance I didn't see it. But if you ask me like a question like, Are you in a relationship with that girl sitting next to you and I don't respond and you choose to ask it again and again and again? You're not entitled to any acknowledgement. You're not entitled
Right.
to an answer on anything. And so it's better to just gauge that, like, oh, okay, instead of like letting that annoy you, like she's ignoring me. Think about like, okay, well, for
Yeah.
some reason she doesn't want to answer that question. Or, like, hey, you look a little sick today. Okay, she didn't, are you feeling good? Okay, she didn't answer.
Yeah.
Gauge, like, is she busy? Did she read the comment before mine and after mine? Because then it's like there's things like that that are easy to gauge. I know there's probably people out there like, this sounds like a lot of work.
I know. Yeah.
If I'm sure it does, but it's one of those things that I have people that tell me all the time, like, I see that you have your favorites and I make, like, I just don't know how to be one of those. I'm like, it's not about having favorites. It's about like establishing a rapport.
Right.
And in order to establish a rapport, you have to evade certain types of behaviors. And we already talked about it a little bit last week, but sometimes Twitch streamers have, or Twitch viewers have, a sense of entitlement,
Yeah.
and I understand where that comes from,
The business
because
transaction.
people on this platform will do just about anything for a sub, like,
Right.
like, "If I sub, will you say my name?" Like, so I think people are used to that kind of attitude, and when you don't, like, I think me and Jeff both are the type that we don't really have that vibe. Someone comes in and puts, like, these demands on you, it's immediately kind of like a,
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. One of those is like this sort of feeling that you're entitled to an answer. So coming in and asking like really personal questions and then asking them repeatedly, you don't know if the person wants to answer that. You don't know if I've already answered that question 7 times today. If you ask me how my
Yes.
significant other is doing and we just broke up, maybe I don't want to fucking talk about it. Maybe this is my ninth time talking about it. And then this kind of happened with me with my pet died. And I
Mm.
understand that that wasn't anything that anybody did wrong, but there's only so many times I can be like, well, why is Bron sad? Because my pet just fucking died, man. My pet of
Yeah.
5 years literally died. And then immediately everybody in chat would be like, oh my gosh. And then I was just like, I just don't want to think about it. That's why I'm
Yeah.
streaming.
And it's
This
different for
happened to
everyone.
me a couple of months
Yeah.
ago, or every single day I had to talk about how my hedgehog died like 4 times a day. It was like I was stuck in a fucking, like, I just a groundhog day from hell. Because
Yeah.
then it's just like, once again, that's not anybody's
Right.
fault, but just understand that if I don't answer you, there's probably a reason why, and it's just like, I don't wanna say it again, I don't wanna deal with it again, because immediately there's gonna be an outpouring from chat that's like, "Oh my gosh,
So let
that's
me
so
let me dive
sad."
into this because this is great. This is a really good
Mhm.
spot to be in. And there's a couple good questions in the chat too, so I'm going to go back to that. But I think the really cool way to think about this point that Bron's making right now, because I share the sentiment a lot, is it's community building. So when someone asks the same question over and over again, is that person being evil or wrong? No, they're not. They absolutely are not. But Bronze and I are not like slot machine, like fortune teller robot things that will just answer questions in the chat. We're trying to have an ongoing conversation. When I see the regular names in chat and I know these people, I'm more likely to answer their questions because they know me better and they're probably talking back and forth. And I like that Bronze identified this. It sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds kind of almost hostile. And I've seen people say like, I don't want to ask a question because it seems like I can do no right here. I get that, and I totally understand that that's kind of the frustrating part about here. But I think Bronze and I and other streamers are going to kind of fight on this because at the end of the day, what we'd like to do is grow a group of people that want to hang out and talk and game and treat each other like humans. Because if you don't foster that environment, the momentum can go the other direction very quickly, and then you don't like what you're doing. I've seen that happen. My stream back in the day had 4, 5, 6,000 people in it. I've done various different things as a streamer to get more subs, and it's more about money and stuff like that. Those days are kind of behind me. Now it's more about like I want to sit down and like what I do. Sorry, I'm out of breath because I just went to the gym. By the way, the worst time ever. Um, but that is the perspective I want people to kind of look at it through the lens of, because a lot of times what gets caught up is I'm like, hey, I already answered that a bunch, and they'll be like, I don't have Twitter. How was I supposed to fucking know? No, listen, you're not in trouble. It's not that you did something wrong and I'm mad at you. It's just that like Ron said, if her fucking hedgehog died, she cannot answer each individual of the several hundred people that are like, Bronze, you look sad. How's your hedgehog doing? She cannot keep doing that. So to swerve it back into being a good Twitch chatter, and this is something I encourage my chat. I'd love to hear if Bronze is the same thing. And then we have to get to these questions. I love it when other people answer those kind of questions in the chat. So, I recently went through some bad stuff as well. Everyone does, and I don't want to keep talking about it or answering it because that drags me down. It drags the stream down. But if someone in the chat's like, yeah, he's having a tough day, man, check his Twitter, and they'll be like, I don't have a Twitter. I'm like, okay, that's no worries. He's just having a bad day. And then I see that conversation happening. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. That guy? Fuck yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then somebody else will be like, Jeff, the other day we were playing XCOM. Any ideas about, how should I get into it? I love XCOM. I'm like, oh my god, let's talk about XCOM. And then I'm feeling good and it's great. And the conversation moves that way. Whereas well, I've said a lot. Is that good?
No, it is. No, it's 100% like a vibe. And you touched on something earlier that I really liked, which was like, it's more about community building and stuff.
Right.
And I'm the first I accepted this about myself like probably about a year ago, that I don't really care about growing numbers if it means that my group, the people that watch me isn't a community. People throw that word around a lot. A community is a group of people that have like a culture to a certain extent. And my channel has a culture. And there are people that will come in and be like, God, she's just so sarcastic. And I'm like, leave. Or, like somebody made a joke about abortion and they're like, can we not talk about abortion? I came here to watch gameplay. And I was like, you can fucking leave.
Right.
And some people might be like, wow, you don't care about that person's view? No. If my chat wants to talk about abortion, I'm not even the person who brought it up. And then it ended up with like a spell called yeetus, fetus, deletus or something. I don't know. But that's the shit I live for.
Right.
Like I laugh for probably, I'm laughing thinking about it now. The darkest version of Harry Potter. But I have the type of community where we would make a joke about abortion. We would make a joke about that. And if you're not the type of person that vibes with that, I'm the first person to be like, this chat probably isn't for you.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's
totally
okay.
Totally okay.
And I know that not every Twitch channel is like that. There's so many people that are like, we want everyone to feel welcome. There's no such thing. There's no way that you can make everyone feel welcome, because if you're going to allow, like, if you, like, for example, if you have gay people in your community, you want them to feel welcome. The next time somebody comes in and they're homophobic, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just like, there's no way to make every single person feel welcome. So yes, my chat is very adult. We discuss, like, like I said, type of place where an abortion joke flies. And I'm sure there are people out there that are like, God, that's distasteful. God. And I'm like, not for you, man.
Not for them. And that's okay.
You don't dictate the content.
Yeah.
And so that's like, I like that you touched on that, because like, if you come into a community or into a chat and you're like, God, I really like Bronze, really like her channel, but I can't fucking chat with these people. They're animals. It's probably like not a chat you should engage with. Cause I'm the first to say, if you don't like jokes like that, it's probably not going to be for you.
And a couple points on that, in my opinion, and maybe Bronze disagrees, but it's okay to message Bronze or something on Twitch or whatever and be like, here's my experience. I love your content, this and that. I don't like this. Because there is a business back and forth, but you have to be okay with that person also being like, that's what we do. So sorry. And for that person not to be like, well, fuck you, it's the worst ever, I'm out. I mean, you can do that, right? But you're never going to send that message to someone and it like changes their life. They're like, oh my God, they don't like those kind of jokes. We'll never do it again because I need that one viewer to be here forever. It just won't happen. But it's okay to have that back and forth. I think there's a lot of people that'll do it like in the chat. They're like, well, if you're going to joke that way, I'm out forever and I'm going to tell all my friends about it. Everyone just kind of waves. They're like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
But a couple of questions here. I'm going to go in reverse order. Ened Thangian. I hope that's your tough name. Is there a way to get, and we kind of talked about this, is there a way to ask chat the ordinary questions the streamer gets all the time without getting on the nerves of the streamer? I think almost any question you ask the chat, unless you're trolling, is probably almost always okay. I don't know of any streamer that sees someone asking the chat a question that'll be like, don't ever ask that question. Unless, again, you're trolling. Like, if it's a sensitive subject that the streamer's going through, and you're like, hey, I haven't seen such and such. Is there something going on? It's being a human again. So if you're like, Bronze seems down. What's going on, chat? Can someone help me? if nobody says anything or whatever, you just got to kind of move on. That just doesn't seem to be the vibe. But that's probably okay. And again, if you're trolling, it's not. And then Jackeray asks about questions from chat. Do you prefer jokey or non-jokey questions from viewers that you don't know? I'm wondering because humor can be a great icebreaker between people, but in written form, it can be hard to decipher. What do you recommend? So 95% of the time, this is going to sound really conceited, but it's actually pretty true. I've done the numbers of all of humanity forever. You're not as funny as you think you are. And if you're a stranger and you're just in the chat for one of the first times and you throw a joke at the streamer, unless it's like an actual great joke that's not kind of mean or weird or something, it's probably not okay to varying degrees, right? Like maybe they ignore it. Maybe they look at it and they're just like, haha, and they move on. Or maybe it does generate conversation. But I probably would recommend that you don't go that route and instead just kind of read the room for a while and then participate. And again, one of the themes I want to establish is if people are talking amongst themselves in the chat, 98% of the time that's totally fine. Like, I don't know of any streamer, I've never been in a channel where they're like, can you guys not talk about that? Fuck off. Again, unless they're trolling. But if you're just talking about shit in the chat, they love that. It's good for the streamer, it's great for the community, and it's a good way for you to get in there and kind of read the room and plug. But if you come in, and I get this all the time because I'm like a funny guy or whatever, so people are like, Jeff, you working out or are you eating more than usual? I'll be like, click, and they're just gone. And then they'll message me like, what the fuck, dude? You joke with people all the time. How come I can't joke with you? I'll be like, because I don't know who you are. I'm joking with my friends. They're like, no, I saw you joke with the chat. I'm like, those are my friends too. But also, that's my channel. I can do whatever the fuck I want there. And they're like, well, I don't like you and I'm gone forever. And it's like, and that's the exchange I've had a dozen times a month, probably. So probably not the best winning combination.
Yeah, we're not like we're not huge streamers. Like Jeff was saying earlier, we have like, you know, the mid view count. So people have rapport. I know that's like that totally blows people's minds because if you go and watch the biggest streamers on Twitch and then you come to our channel, they probably don't know who the fuck you are. You could be a tier 3 sub of 4 years, they might not know who you are. But my community, I know like majority of the people I know. And so when you come in and you don't, like I was talking about earlier, that rapport is so important, like having an established, because if somebody says something off color, I might 100% if I know them be like, I didn't really like that joke, or you know, that kind of hurt my feelings, and give them the benefit of the doubt. But this happened to me like the other day where somebody was like, or you can do blah 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 and blah blah blah, and I was playing a strategy game and I was like, or you could just let me play how I want to play. And that's all I said. Didn't yell at them. And they were like, it's almost like there's something called sarcasm. And then, oh my God, I dragged them in front of all the chat. I was like, it's almost like you're typing in text and I can't read the sarcastic tone of your voice. It's almost like it's really hard to convey sarcasm on the internet. It's almost like you're socially inept. And I fucking went in. I was like, all he had to do was say, oh, sorry, I was being sarcastic. Cause I didn't go in until this like smart ass was like, it's almost like, I was like, oh, you want sarcasm? Honey, I am the crown princess of that shit. Like I will sarcastically drag your ass across the rainbow bridge to Valhalla and back. Like, are you kidding me?
That's awesome. And let me say, I don't know if this is the same for you, Bronze. This is just almost an aside, kind of off the comment of Jack Ray, though. But for me, one of the ways a name leaps out from the chat and I immediately, I feel a strange love for them. I don't even know how to describe it, but I feel enamored, is when that happens. Like someone, or something, you know, like I'm talking about something like, no, that's fucking wrong. That movie sucked. And I'll be like, what? That doesn't help. Shut up. You know, and then instead of them being like, you're an idiot, I fucking hate you forever, I'm out. They go like, nah, you're right. I probably should have said that better.
Oh,
I see that name and I'm like, Jesus Christ, we have an adult. This person.
I know. I have a thing I always say. I'm always like, they can stay. You can stay.
Yeah.
Or if like we have a joke and they like crack a joke right after that like fits in, I'm like, you're new here, but you can stay. Cause like I said, I know like people and immediately someone will like gift them a sub. I'm like, yeah, you can stay.
Yep.
You get to stay.
They get me. They fucking, I love it so much. Now, I'm not saying necessarily find your controversy with me and then, you know, be mature or cool about it. I'm just saying I crave real interactions, and to me that's so real because again, Bronze and I are sarcastic, over the top. One of the things that people like is we go on rants and stuff, and we'll call people out. And the very consistent thing that will happen from that is people will be like, "Well, fuck you, you're an idiot," and they're gone. Okay, whatever, and then we move on with our lives. But there are people who are like, "Yeah, all right, I deserve that. I'm sorry," or they're like, "Well, okay, I hear your point, but can you please consider," like the way they communicate back after that. The name leaps right off the screen. I'm like, "Gee, okay, this is great," because now, selfishly speaking, I had my content, I had my little vent, my moment, but then this person wants to keep talking and contribute in a positive, awesome way, and I'm like, that's what I want. I look at my chat, and half these fucking people I've either made fun of or yelled at, which is probably it's a little bit about me there as well, but uh, they went through it and they were like, okay, yep, that's what he does, and then they kept talking and hanging out, and now I understand them better. By the way, so this actually empowers kind of what Jack Ray was talking about. If some of my regulars or people I recognize joke with me after, I don't read it as hostile. I don't read it as
Same.
I can see the sarcasm or I can see the joke because I know who this person is on some level.
Mm-hmm.
When it's a complete stranger, they are unfortunately, and this is a part that I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Bronze, but like it's so unique to the streamer perspective. There's a lot of people that will just say mean shit to say mean shit that unfortunately other people's messages can get read alongside that, and I can receive it the same or similar ways, and it's not your
Mm-hmm.
fault, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's
Yeah.
the case. So sometimes I've banned people or I've been like, fuck off, just ban them. And they were like, I was just joking. I was being sarcastic. And we'll have this message, and I'll be like, hey man, just so you know, I'm sorry, but like, I get those messages. People actually say that to me to try to hurt my feelings. And they'll be like, sorry, I didn't know. Can I be unbanned? I personally will always unban you.
Yeah. Same.
Um, but I feel bad. That's kind of a shitty situation because I don't want that person to like, you know what I mean? It's just tough.
I have an existential crisis over it every once in a while. I'll even ask my chat sometimes where I'm like, am I too mean? Because there's a lot of people that are like, I'm afraid to talk in your chat, or
Yeah,
and I'm just like, it's hard for me because I don't consider myself a mean person. And I think that people that know me know that I don't consider myself a mean person, you know? And so it's something that it's just in a certain way I'm kind of sensitive about because I'm like, I don't feel like I ever went off on somebody in a really mean spirited way,
yeah,
or like if I did, they deserved it because they just came in and said some really ignorant shit to me, you know? But like I think that my sense of humor is just different. So I have like really good friends of mine that watch my stream IRL, didn't even know it was them. And they're like, yeah, I got a taste of your bronzeness on stream. And I was like, was it bad? And they're like, no. I was like, oh, you have to dodge that. And you were like, oh, what? You mean I have to hit the boss and not take damage from the boss? Thank you. And he's like, I just started laughing. I thought that
yeah,
shit was hilarious. I was like, yeah, but sometimes I'll do that. I'll be like, what? You mean I'm not supposed to catch
yeah,
that with my face? And they'll be like, what a fucking bitch. And I'm just like, okay, well, clearly my humor, like, I literally have existential crises over this
yes,
stuff where I'm like, I don't think I'm cut out to be a streamer. My own chat can attest to that, where I'm like, I don't think I'm cut out to be a streamer. I don't think I'm built for this. I don't think I have the personality for it. I don't think people understand my sense of humor because it escalates, you know?
yeah,
Because I was like, it's almost like you can't read sarcasm on the internet. If that guy had been like, haha, fair point, it's not like in my brain I now have a grudge book against that guy. I'm like, okay, good. He can take a joke instead of like, you stupid cunt, you know?
yeah,
And that's when it's like, okay, well, fuck. I feel like I escalated it. And I feel bad because I never know if I am a mean person. I don't think I am. In real
yeah.
life, people think I'm fucking great. But I
But to
think
some
like,
people's singular experience, you are a mean person. They're like, I don't like
yeah,
that.
100%. There's people out there that think I'm mean. There's people out there that are like, I'm afraid of her, which I've never really like hurt anybody.
Yeah,
And it's weird because I know I'm not perfect. And there's times where I've been like, I think I was like a little too hard on this person. Like that happened like today where I'm like, I don't know if I feel like my joke didn't fly, or I feel
hmm,
like I was too rough on that person. Or there'll be other times where, you know, I went off on somebody and they were like, oh, I was responding to this comment in chat, or oh, I was talking about the girl on screen.
yeah,
Cause like there was like I like wiped in a game. I died, and somebody wrote "what a dumb bitch," and they were talking about the character I was playing because I'm always like, "Oh, Morrigan, you dumb bitch! Why didn't you run?" And they were like, "What a dumb bitch!" And I like went off on them and banned them. And it's like, is it my fault? Probably, because if I had been like, dude, not cool, maybe they would have
Yeah,
been like, oh, I'm talking about Morgan. But like, you get this like sort of like defensive mechanism sometimes when
this is
you're
a
like,
great
no, this
example.
person
Yeah.
was talking about me.
No, I love this because this is gonna sound interesting. I just like that we're talking about this. Let's just go with it. But like sometimes interactions are based, and I think this is a concept that's so hard to convey. My chat knows that I've talked about this a lot, but the streamer experiences a mass of people as one. You can fight it. You can try to change that. You can try to, and hopefully to varying different degrees, you do, and you are successful. But when the 10th person just says something kind of close to being bad, it's received as if it was bad, probably. And this is that funny moment where people are like, well, you should just have thicker skin. Guys, a lot of streamers, and I'll tell you, I've been in this for 20 years. I have the thick, I'm a fucking rhino made of steel. I am. And I can tell you, shit still gets through. It absolutely does. And very often, and here's the other part that people don't think about, it's not that comment. I streamed for a week where a guy was messaging me that I had ruined his life because when I was back at the NASL, he asked to join, and I said, "You're not good enough." He said he went to counseling, he like couldn't have sex, and he lost confidence in life and was suicidal. So then he had a lawyer contact me and say that he wanted to sue me because I was the reason why his whole life was crashing around him. Like 6 years later. And then I had to stream that week because that's like my week of work. This person obviously then, by the way, fucked off and disappeared, and this was like in January of this year, and nothing came of it. But when someone is in the chat and they're just like, you seem weird. This chat sucks. Fuck you." It's not that common. It's not that common. It's the other shit, and it's the 10th comment. So then when someone, and then it spirals, and then someone will be like, "Get thicker skin," or "If you can't handle it, you shouldn't do this." It's like, dude, and that kind of goes back to our earlier conversation where it's like if you just have the perspective that everyone's dealing with something, you're going to be just better off because you'll make a lot less assumptions about how good someone's got it, therefore they have no right to be upset, and you'll kind of be like, maybe they're kind of fucked up right now and dealing with something. And to
Hmm.
Jasmine's point, that's something I struggle with because a few times I've gone off on people, and then later they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I just broke up with my girlfriend of 10 years, and sorry, I'm just in a shitty mood." And I'll be like, "Jesus Christ." I'm like, we've all been there, and that sucks. And it's this weird moment because that doesn't mean it's okay for someone to be shitty in my chat and use me as a scratching post. But at the same time, they're a human, and sometimes it's made real when at like TwitchCon or BlizzCon or something like that, I meet these people. They're like, "Yeah, you really went off on me one time," and I see him, and they're like a fucking dad of 3 people, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And he's like, "Ah, it's
Yeah.
okay." I laughed, but it humanizes it in a world where our interactions are not human at all. This is a very weird, different thing. You guys see Bronze and I talking. I don't see your faces. I don't hear your voice. I don't see your hands when you talk. So if I read something as hostile and mean, it's not because I'm insecure and have thin skin. Maybe it's maybe a number of other things that are going on, and that one just sucked, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%. Wabi Sabi wrote, it's good to assume the most generous meaning and ask them where they're going with it, but the reverse is also true. If you say like, "What a dumb bitch," and I'm like, "Well, fuck you too. You go watch something else." The reverse is also true. You could also assume that I took it the wrong way and like clarify, right? That's a two-way street. And too often people act like it's not a two-way street. If you say something sarcastic and I'm like, "Well, you're a sarcastic cunt," you can also assume the best thing and be like, I don't think you read what I said right because I was actually responding to this thing that happened earlier."
Mm.
Or, "Oh, I was just joking." Because 9 times out of 10, I will dial it back and be like, "Oh my God, I'm so fucking sorry. You're right. That was a recurring joke from earlier." Um, but it's a two-way street. Like I have to come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be perfect all the time. It's just not going to happen. You know, it's just never going to happen.
Mm.
There have been times that somebody came in and as a joke said something super racist. And then someone else who I didn't know that well in chat said the same thing. Like the other day when I was streaming, people kept calling me a monkey. And then
Mm.
somebody else, like I forgot, I like won a battle because I was playing Total War. And they're like, "Aren't you a clever monkey?" And like they got banned almost immediately. And it's like that timing thing where they're like, "I was just joking because you were, I was like, I was making fun of those dudes from earlier." And I'm like, somebody literally came in here and called me like a fucking primate because I'm
Yeah.
brown. Like it's probably not the best timing. My mods are on edge. There are like sharks in the fucking water. You know, I'm probably not going to take the joke well because someone just unironically called me, you know, that and called me the N word. Like, I can't assume, like, well, he's probably just making a joke after four people have
No.
like said something like that to you. Come and tell me if you're going to assume the best. You're not going to assume the best. So it's
Yep.
impossible to ask somebody to do that, to be like, oh, well, after four people called you the N word and someone else calls you a monkey, like you should assume they're coming from a funny place. I don't know that.
Yeah.
It's just impossible to think that or to go that way. And so it's a two-way street. That person then assuming like, oh, well, she might be on edge right now. She's not a raving bitch. She's just on edge right now. I'm going to send her a message and see if I can get unbanned. That goes both ways. Assuming the best goes both ways. It's not just a one-way street on that, at least in my opinion.
I fully agree, and it's like it's a quote unquote like impossible goal to try to achieve, but it's worth trying. Um, there's just a number of people that will flat out use Twitch chat to troll and to be mean, and everyone just kind of rolls their eyes and says, "Well, that's just the way it is," and that's fine. I understand, but you have to also understand that it has an effect, and like I said, it's a lot of times outside stuff. So Bronze used the example of like a pet dying and stuff like that. That's going to be a harder week or two or three to deal with shit than a normal week where things are going great and are wonderful. But for us, that doesn't mean we can stop doing our job. It just means that in those times, maybe believing the best in someone's harder to do. So it's something to keep in mind and try to work on. But for the Twitch chat to understand, like, there's just a lot of people that unfortunately you get lumped into where if your comment's kind of writing that line, which, by the way, I don't know, I don't think calling Bronze a monkey ever is okay. I don't think, and that's a funny part too, is that some people be like, what? I didn't mean it that way. It's like, well, it's still wrong. They're like, well, I'm a 13-year-old boy. And it's like, okay, I guess you had a chance to learn a lesson right now. It's like, you don't talk to people that way.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. I have to educate a lot of people a lot of times because there's just, I probably make
And
too many jokes about it, but it's like I say I'm the mayor holding the keys to Autism Town, but just like sometimes
yeah.
people say some of these things and they're like, and I'm like, you can't say that. And they're like, I didn't mean anything by it. And I'm like, but that still hurts people's feelings. They're like, what are
Yeah.
feelings?
Yeah. And I think like it doesn't help that like, and you have this too, like mods that have such a good rapport with you.
Yeah.
So like someone might come in and be like, God, what's this guy's problem? And they're clearly trying to fuck with me by calling me a dude. And then like I'll be like, really, dude? And what's funny is like somebody like Vicken, one of my mods will be like, God, this boy is so angry all the time. And I will fucking bust up laughing. Like to me, that shit is so fucking hilarious. And it was one of those things where these dudes came in, it was a group of them, and they were like, we're going to troll her. So they were like saying a lot of racist things and
Yeah.
drawing parallels to monkey. And this person was probably trying to pull like a Vicken and be like,
Right.
well, that's one clever monkey. It's like, but I don't know you like that. You know, like I don't know you like that. Like Vicken and I are real life friends. So
Yeah.
that also, and like some of these mods have been on my channel for years. So like when they're just like, you know, wow, that's pretty smart for a monkey, like I will probably laugh, you know? Just like if when one of my regulars is like, God, that's a spicy Puerto Rican boy, like I will fucking laugh. Like I think that shit's fucking hilarious. But if it's like you're like, if you don't have that rapport and you come in and you're like, God, this Puerto Rican boy is spicy, I'm probably like, hey, suck my fucking dick. And I'm gonna ban you because I don't know you like that.
Right.
I know it's weird to gauge that. It's hard to gauge when you've crossed into that, but into that level of familiarity. But you kind of have to like test the waters a little bit there and see like, oh, okay, Bronze recognizes me or Jeff recognizes me. It seems like he remembers me a little bit or he knows like I'm talking in good faith because that's what it comes from, right? Like a good faith.
Mm-hmm.
And even then I might be like, you know what, Vicken, not cool, man. I didn't like
Yeah.
that.
On some days, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, not cool. I don't, not that, or I'm not okay with that. And it doesn't, like to what you were saying earlier, like sometimes we have bad days, like not to throw a pity party, but sometimes I feel like I can't win because
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that if something's going on in my life, one of my favorite things to do is stream or work or keep my mind off of it. And yesterday I gauged like 2 hours into stream. I was like, oh, today's not a good day. Like I don't think, I think I'm too sensitive. I'm going to take things too personally. This isn't a good day for me to stream. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something unprecedented. I'm just going to take today off, call it a mental health day. Like I don't think the stream is going to go well.
Yeah.
And I've never done that before. And the outpouring I got in DMs, like, I felt kind of terrible because I really thought that, like, some of my audience thought I was, like, suicidal almost, like, the
Mm,
amount of outpouring of people that were like, "Are you okay?" If you and I felt so bad because 'cause I'm like, I don't want people to worry, but I also like, if I stream, I know I'm just gonna be, like, not
mhm.
my greatest self. If I don't stream, people think I'm, like, sick or something seriously bad has happened to me, and I don't know I don't know how to win that, you know?
Right.
Because I don't wanna stream and make excuses for myself. I never go live and think, I'm gonna take this out on people today." No, it's
No.
usually, like, I catch myself and I'm like, "You know what? I'm being sensitive today," and normally I'm not. Or, like, I'm not feeling myself today. And like, yesterday was the first time I was like, "Okay, well, I don't wanna have one of those days, so I'm gonna call it because I'm
Mm.
just gonna snap at somebody." And I still I still would rather have people be like, "I hope you're okay," than, like, snap at someone because
Yeah.
I don't. Because like you said, that's, like, my worst nightmare is someone being like, "I was having a bad day and, my favorite streamer screamed at me and now
Mhm.
I hate my life." Like, I don't wanna have that effect on anyone. So, but I also know I'm not perfect. So gauging that, to me, that was like me being emotionally mature where I was like, it's gonna be a bad day. If I continue with this stream, it's gonna be a bad day.
And I love that you had that conversation with yourself, and I can see the ongoing, like, I don't know, I want people to support me, but at the same time, it's interesting, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's the same level of responsibility that a streamer wishes from their chat. Just to segue into that, so for some people, Twitch chat is whatever. It's on in the background. They don't fucking care. They're a lurker or whatever. Someone was asking earlier what we think about them. They're great. Whatever. You're an eye. You're watching the channel. That's wonderful. Um, and then for other people, it's a community. It's something they're actively a part of, and they have their identity. So like Vicken, that's awesome that they function that way in your community. And it's probably confusing and caused some problems for other people because they're like, well, if he can joke that way, I must be able to as well, or he or she. Um, but then they have to kind of learn, right? That nope, that's a person that's got privilege because they've been there a long time and they know Jasmine in real life and stuff like that. So they joke on a different level, and that's something that is like funny for me as a community manager as well, is because I'm constantly joking. I'm known as like a trolly guy, and my humor is very trolly and stuff like that. So people like come in to troll me, and they're like, "That's what you do," and it's like, no, that's that's what I do with my friends on a professional level, and I get hired for that. You're a random dude in a chat, so if I don't know who you are and you're coming in to troll me, then that's not okay, and it's not usually received very well, unless you're very good at it, which I almost don't want to say that unless, because honestly, guys, it's like 1% of humanity. So many people are not funny. I need to say, every time I tweet something that's like ironic or silly, the responses I get, I'm like, God damn it, bring back bowling. Bring back bowling to our middle schools and high schools, please. Because if someone would have just been pushed over and atomic wedgied and been like, you're not funny, and then moved on, that person might have been like, I should be an engineer. I don't think I need to be a comedian in people's Twitch chats. Maybe. That would have been my hope. But it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, I mean, some people do develop these like obnoxious personalities, and I've had to have conversations with them.
Mhm.
And there was one dude I straight up banned, and he sent me this email about how he views me as his little sister, so he teases me. I'm like, yeah, that shit ain't fucking cute. I literally said that. I was like, you're not fucking cute. Don't ever fucking talk to me like that. I
Oh,
had that happen
God.
today where someone was like
You
kind of
used my little
backseating me.
sister?
Yeah. Somebody today was like kind of backseating me. And I was just kind of like, or you could just like let me play the game I want to like the way I want to play it since there's like 4 tags on here that says it's my first time playing and I don't want to be backseat. And they're like, okay, you can stop with the sass now. I'm like, oh, hell no. I did not come out of your nutsack. You are not my dad. You don't talk to me. But I'm like, I literally am like, this can't be a grown man. Because if a grown man was like, you can stop with the sass now. If he had ever touched another woman, his significant other would have fucking like slapped him down.
Oh, that's the scary
Okay.
part, Bronze. He could have been 36 years old, dude.
But like, come on, Jeff. If you said that to like any of the girls you've dated, are you telling me none of them would have been like, excuse me, how about you suck
100%.
my fucking dick?
Oh, no, no.
You would have gotten dragged to filth. There's no
Oh, no, I'm not
way.
defending that. Absolutely. It's just,
You
I don't
can
know.
stop with the sass now. I was just like, like what?
And stop with the sass now.
Like you're not my dad. Don't talk to me like that.
No, yesterday I had this really funny interaction. There's a guy who's either severely drunk or did not speak English on any level at all, but they were trying to ask a question. And I think they're a troll because I've seen it's one of those things where I'm like, I think it's a troll because the name leapt out at me and I like click on there and they've been timed out 4 times. I'm like, nah, I think this guy's trolling. But anyways, he's like trying to ask a question. He doesn't get there, and I'm like, that was almost English. That's all I said. And then a guy said, a guy who was gifted a sub, of course, was like, you are gangbanging him for not speaking English. And I was like, well, hey, let's just talk about this for 1 second. First of all, if you really care about that person, it's kind of cool that you're trying to do that, but can you not casually use the term gangbang to try and defend someone about speech? And then they went off, of course, we just insta-banned them, but it's just like, no, Bronze, these people exist. Like, that's the part that's horrifying, that's scary, is you're like, this guy probably has never touched a woman. No, I'm guessing he's been in a lot of relationships. They just probably don't pan out super great.
I mean, yeah, I just couldn't imagine somebody saying that to me, like in real life. I know that probably blows somebody's mind because there's somebody out there that's gonna watch this and be like, I could see myself saying that to, or I could see myself saying that to someone. I cannot envision a scenario where somebody face to face would be like, okay, you can stop with the sass now. Cause I don't think I've met a dude with balls that big. Like I'm just being honest. Like my dad doesn't talk to me like that. So
Bronze, that's your lot in life, though. Some of these stories you come
like
up
I'm
with that
fucking
people say to
30.
you,
Like,
I'm like, if anyone knows you at all, they wouldn't say anything like that. But they're attracted to you. They're like, I'm gonna touch this electric fence one more time. I think that's what it is. It's like, because I've walked this earth, I've been around everywhere. I've never heard a guy say something. I mean, I've heard bad stuff, but that's just amazing to me. You can stop with the
yeah.
sass. What Twitch streamer's like? You know what? Fair enough. Yeah, I was too sassy. Thank you for reminding me. They're like, you're welcome. This is your dad, by the way.
I have this amazing friend that her and I used to go to bars together when I was younger. And there was this dude that walked over with a pitcher of cheap beer or whatever, wanted to join us. And he said something like, "Oh, come on, this bench is open. You can let me sit here." And I was like, "You
As
can
the
get your
opener,
cheap." Yeah, he's like, "You can take your cheap pitcher of Pabst and
your beer
kindly
shaming.
fuck off." And he then when I say that, he goes, "Oh, spicy." And my amazing little Filipino friend, because she's so much shorter than me, like leans out around me and she's like, "You're gonna find out spicy when I see how far I can shove that pitcher up your fucking ass." And the look on his face
That's amazing.
is like the most, like he just like turned around with the pitcher and like slow walked away. And then the bartender gives us free beers. He's like, "I can't believe that idiot called you spicy." I'm like, I don't. So I thought back to that. It's like, you could stop with the sass now. I'm like, it's that guy who called me spicy.
Yeah,
Like, he was just asking for it.
dude, it's all about its experience, and I don't know. Like I've made this mistake once in my life, exactly one time. I won't name her name, but I was with a girl. We just saw a movie. She was very emotional about it, and it was just like it was kind of ridiculous in my mind. So
Mhm.
afterwards, we get to the car, and she's just very distraught, very upset, and I'm like, "Oh, that's right." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "You're on your period, aren't you?" Like I've made that mistake before as well. But guess what? One time, because I'll never make that mistake again. That did not
Yeah.
go over very well at all, and I was in the wrong, and I learned. But I hear these stories, I'm like, how can a guy say that? But I'm like, well,
I think
one
like
time I did
some
that.
people also get thrown off because I like
She
women will
was
do
Jeremy. You
it.
just can't say that. Go ahead.
Well, like women will do it. Like I can tell, and I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have watched it. My neighbor Totoro because I'm on my period and I'm emotional. But it's when other people
You just
say
can't
it,
call it
it's
out.
like,
It's okay. You just can't
yeah.
call it
Well, it's
out.
also just like that's not always the case, and I can tell when it
Right.
is. And so it almost like dehumanizes you when it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, you're not just emotional because you're emotional. You're emotional because you're on your period. And it's like, I know when I'm emotional when I'm on my period. I can tell the difference. Like,
Well, it's like
'cause
Twitch
I'll
chat,
catch
right? Like
myself and I'll be like, why am I crying at this baby
it's
elephant
interpreted
video?
the
And I'm
wrong
like,
way because it's used the wrong way in other cases. Where
yeah,
like that comment by itself is, oh, you're not in control of your emotions because you're on your period.
right.
Think about what that means for a woman. Every time they're on their period, which is going to happen for most of their life, or a lot of their life anyways, they're just
1 week every month. We're just
hysterically not in
irrational.
control of themselves, and that's what they have to admit to? No, that's
Yeah.
not okay. So
Yeah. Because
I
I can
learned,
tell. Most women can. You're just like, Oh, why am I crying? Oh, like we know. So when somebody else says that, it's almost like they're taking away your agency. Where it's like, no, even if I wasn't on my period, I would cry over this because this movie was sad.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a few don'ts real quick as well for the Twitch chat. This is very easy. I think we can get kind of silly about this quickly, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But one thing that comes up a lot is how you leave a channel. There's some people who will be like, hey guys, I'm getting tired. Good night. Great stream. See you guys later. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. I can't imagine any streamer that's like, don't ever fucking say that. I think that's totally great. What's not okay? Oh, hey, wow, so-and-so just went online. I'm going to go check them out. Peace, everybody. And we laugh. We laugh because it's silly, but
It's
it happens
silly.
all the goddamn time. And
It
it's
really does.
and the streamer can't say anything, by the way. That's the weird experience there, too, well, they can, but if they do, they come off as insecure, defensive. The person's maybe gone, so they're like yelling at them as the door closes or something like that. So it's like, it's just not cool. And if a lot of people do it in a chat or whatever, it's that same thing where you're hurting the community, you're hurting the vibe in the chat, because then it becomes like, do we ignore that? Or someone's like, oh, wow, so-and-so went live? And then the streamer's like, guys, it's totally fine to watch other streamers, which is a weird thing to say because, of course, it's totally fine. But now I have to say it, and I'm like, please don't say that. And they're like, why? You should be happy with what you have. And they're like, this is a conversation I want to be a part of. Here we go. Ah! You know, and then it just becomes this really shitty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm. I would say something that kind of falls into that, but we could probably do a whole other episode on networking, and this kind of falls into networking, is like there's a lot of people from my community that stream that I actively support. And I think
Yeah.
people see that and they want to be one of those people. And this happened literally today. Someone came in and said, "Hi, I just wanted to come in and show support to a fellow streamer." And I was just like in my head, like blacklist, because it's rude. It's incredibly rude.
Yeah.
If you are somebody that watches a streamer and you're starting to get into streaming, mentioning like if one of my people from my community that I know for a long time starts streaming, like, yes, I will probably toss them a host.
Yeah.
Because I know they are not just in my chat. It's not about, oh, me feeling insecure about somebody that has 5 viewers. It's more about feeling taken advantage of,
Yeah.
because I don't think that viewers understand how much people try to take advantage of us, how much I've been successfully taken advantage of. People that used my friendship, used my hosts, and used my stuff, and they don't even talk to me anymore, you know?
Right.
This stuff is super common in our industry. It makes us put our shields up quite a bit. So if it's your first time in chat and saying, "Oh, just got done streaming this game and I thought I'd come by and say," I know I'm not stupid. I know all you're doing is telling this chat, "I stream this game too. Please follow me."
Yeah.
And I want you to know nobody else in the chat's going to follow you. So it's a really bad thing to do. Build a rapport with that community, and eventually like you will probably end up getting the host or getting the shout out or getting the support. But if
It's far
my
more effective to network as a friend than as a parasite. Like, if you're in the chat just like, I'm streaming, you'll get 2 people. If you're an actual friend of that streamer and you guys build a relationship, you'll co-stream. You'll get hosts. You'll get recommended. Like, I am happy to, like Bronze just said, I'll advertise other streamers all the time on my stream. Because that also looks good. Like, here's the funny pull the veil behind again. It looks good for me. For being completely honest, it looks cool for me to be like, dude, Bronze just went live. Fucking check her out. This is great. Do a show with her. Go watch. But if Bronze is constantly chat like, hey everybody, I just played this last week in my VODs. It's live right now, and it's on YouTube. And also, I'm going to be streaming this other game next week. Peace, everybody. I'd be like, what? They just get drove by here? What happened? What the fuck was that? But she doesn't.
And people do. And you're crazy if you think that like I'm just gonna like I don't think people realize how many people are like that.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably community members that are like, oh, but like I'm actually friends with Bronze, like, or I watch her channel all the time. Like I'm not just in there. I can tell. And when that is the case, like I'll usually promo you.
Oh yeah.
You know? And it's also like a two-way street. Instead of just coming into a channel and being like, oh, just got done playing this game, thought like toss a couple of hosts yourself, even if it's only 10 people, that still seems more genuine than just coming in and being like, just got done streaming this game, wanted to see who else was streaming it. We know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't think you're slick. You're not. You're actually really fucking stupid if you think that that is slick. It's not slick. You're just promoting yourself. Or people that come in and they're like, hey, Jeff, curious how to build a community. I've been streaming StarCraft for 6 years and I don't have more than, we know you're just trying to get the pity follows.
Yeah.
Like, because if you were serious, you probably would have DM'd Jeff and asked him that way. If you know, like coming into his chat while he's streaming StarCraft, talking about how you stream StarCraft and you can't crack 5 viewers, we all know you're not looking for advice. You're just looking
Right.
for his community to follow you out of pity. And my question to you is, do you really want to be the person that's like getting the pity follow that those people will probably never even watch you? Or do you want to be the person that forges a relationship with Jeff so that he might actually actively promote your content, go check out your channel, decide whether he likes you or not, and then you can work together?
Hmm.
Long term, that's way better. And if you legitimately want advice, best thing to do is email, DM, tweet, literally anything other than coming in when he's streaming and saying, "Hey, Jeff," because it's just you're taking the entire conversation and what they're talking about in the stream and you're gearing it to where, no, talk to me instead.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely respectful to what everyone else is discussing and whatever else you're doing because I want you to put the brakes on that and talk to me and give me one-on-one personal advice. It's just a bad move.
It is, and it's just not as effective, which we touched on. But like,
Yeah.
I'm actually really fortunate. I mad props to the StarCraft community in general. That's like not as much of a problem there at all. Everyone's really supportive of each other and really awesome, and they all host each other, and that's great. The rest of Twitch, my experience is like the further up you go, the more guarded, insecure, and kind of weaponized it gets. So Bronze advice is very on point, but it's good for the people that are just starting and are obviously out there wheeling and dealing, looking for any follower view they can get. Right? They're probably streaming to 2 or 3 people or 10. So 5 people coming over the channel is a big deal. But I'll tell you, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but at least for myself and probably Bronze, if you message me and are like, "Hey, I'm just starting out, been a part of your community for a while. I'm streaming Saturday. Do you think you can throw me a host or something like that?" Which is, it kind of feels weird because there's a chance for Bronze to be like, "Fuck no, dude," or me. But there's also a chance where, at least in private and professionally message that way, where they'll be like, "Yeah, absolutely. I plan on streaming until about 4 p.m. If you want to time it after that, I'll absolutely host you." Another person like, "Jesus Christ." And I
Mm.
personally, this is going to sound like a brag or whatever, but I've done that. Like, people have messaged me, or whatever, and I've absolutely been happy to help because they showed me that respect and they were kind and did it in that way. But then I've also had people show up in chat or in StarCraft, which is funny, and they're like, "Hey, check out this channel," which is like a weird violation. And then I'll just be like, "No, don't go there. It's a
Yeah, it's
shitty
like a
place."
really negative interaction. Like, and I will remember it and then
Yeah.
not in a good way. And it's because like my entire career maybe this is like a personal thing. My entire career has been, for the most part, streamers bigger than me treating me like garbage because they think I'm that person,
Mm-hmm.
and streamers smaller than me trying to take advantage.
Mm.
So with a handful of exceptions, like it's never been. And so to me, I'm just like, when you're first starting out, because it's something I always did, network with people who are in your range. That's like my biggest piece of advice. You know, if you have like 0 to 10 viewers, you don't really have a whole lot of business trying to network with people that have like 300. Because
Right.
speaking as somebody who came from 0 to 10, that person doesn't have anything to gain from you. It's a really one sided relationship. Stick with people in the 0 to 30 range, you know, stick with people in the 0 to 50 range and then build your way up from there, because I feel so bad for people who are starting out because it seems like everybody is trying to network up and no one is trying to network laterally.
Mm.
And you really should try to network laterally. Like when you're looking at people to collaborate with and to play D&D with and all of these things, I urge you to look at people at your level and below instead of just looking at people above your level, cuz that's what I look at. If someone hits me up to be on a project and there's somebody that is like, you know, that I know that works with people that are below their level as well, I'm less likely to be like, this person just wants me on this show so that I host them.
Yeah.
If you work with a number of quality people, I'm going to take you more seriously as a content creator and be like, okay, well, you know, this person works with people with a variety of view counts. If you hit me up and everybody else that you've hit up is in the same view count range as me, I'm going to assume you only hit me up because of the view count I currently pull. And that's usually like not a good interaction to start with. So working with smaller creators, in my opinion, can also give you a sense of legitimacy.
Yeah, I think that's good
I don't know.
advice.
Do you agree with that? Do you, when you see somebody work with smaller creators, are you like, oh, okay, they actually like chose me for this?
Um, I think I have, in this regard, a more innocent heart because, like I said, this is just the StarCraft community is really fantastic. Like people, very established, will absolutely host and help prop up smaller people, and people get started, and they'll kind of their channels will grow because there's just people willing to network with them. But I know that that's not the common territory out there. I would agree with everything you said. I would just add streaming is a hustle, and I don't mind someone shooting for the moon. So if someone contacts fucking Co Carnage or whatever, and they're like, "Listen, I only have 25 viewers. I love your stuff. If there's any way you can help out, please do. That's wonderful." 99% of the time, it's everything Braun said. And Coz, who's an actual living saint, will maybe not even message you, just because he probably gets that message a lot. But maybe he does. But you have to be okay with no. Like that's as a Twitch streamer starting out and kind of growing and stuff like that. You just have to. You don't harass somebody. You don't break them down. You probably don't hook up with them and start fucking them to get their views as well. That's probably not a great way to go about it. Something we talked about in the past. But you can send out those messages. Like if someone's like, "Hey, I've got 5 viewers. You stream StarCraft. I play Command and Conquer, which is not that similar. But if you don't mind throwing a host, please do. Here's the link." Maybe I won't even respond, and maybe I'll never host you because I don't know who you are. Or maybe it's a regular in my chat, and I'm more inclined to be like, "Yeah, okay, this person's streaming. Sure, I'll help them out." But maybe not, and that's got to be okay too. What Braun's talking about is probably the more effective thing that people don't look to as much. They're like, well, if I just work with people that have similar views to me or just slightly more, I can't just overnight become successful. So that's not sexy and exciting, so I'm not going to do it. And then that's where a lot of people burn out. They're like, I'm starting Twitch, and they expect to making a living wage inside of a month. It's like, no, not unless you're some kind of weird overnight sensation, which does happen, but there's actually like
So
tens
much
of
of it is
thousands
luck
streamers.
based. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so much of it is luck based. Like you never know. Like there's careers that have been made from GTA RP and it's because like Lyric streamed it
Yeah.
once. I'm serious. Like nobody knows which category is gonna be the one. Nobody knows which like you really don't know. Like
Mhm.
the only you can control what kind of content you put out. You can control how consistently you put it out. You can control the quality to a certain extent that you put out. You cannot control whether people are going to watch it.
Yes.
And that's just something you have to come to terms with. And
Yeah.
no amount of networking is going to change that. Because if, let's say, I start dating one of the biggest Minecraft streamers and they host me every time, I
Mhm.
can't force those people to watch me. And if I'm not streaming Minecraft, they probably won't. And if my personality doesn't match this dude I'm fucking, they still probably won't stick around. They might not even like me because I'm dating their favorite streamer. It might work in the reverse. They might hate me because I'm dating their favorite streamer. So, like, there's no way you can guarantee any of this stuff. These things help, but they're not sure shot. So going into people's stream, because I just see it happen so much.
Yeah.
It happened this week where somebody was promoting their art services. They're
Mm.
just like, hey, if you ever need any logos, this, or this, check me out at blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no.
Mm.
I was really nice about it. I was like, you should have like a stronger social media presence, or you could have emailed me. My business email is down below with samples of your work. I was like, this is just, I want to put up a sign on my stream that says no soliciting. Like you're going this door to door approach, I think is not the greatest
Let me
approach.
ask you this though, as a distinction to that, and then I'm not even going to lead. I'm going to try not to. What if the conversation, like they were back and forth with you, like, can I show a picture or whatever? And you're like, yeah, let me see the picture. And you're like, this is really fucking good. And you're like,
Mhm.
where did this come from? They're like, oh, I do it professionally. That then gives you the opportunity to say something like, wow, yeah, share your shit, or where can people check that out? Or do you not do that? You don't like that?
No, I like that. I like that, especially if they ask for permission. Like I've had people be like, "Oh, well, I actually I see you're a big fan of Morden from Mass Effect. Actually, I have this really cool art. Do you want to see it?"
Yeah.
And they link it to me, and it's beautiful. I'm like, "Holy shit, that's amazing!" And they're like, "Yeah, I do wood burning on Twitch. I will probably promo them."
Yeah.
Because then it's like relevant to like the conversation, or it's relevant to what we're talking about. I've had people hit me up personally and be like, "Oh, hey, I do animated stuff. Like, do you like this?" But like, it's also kind of disrespectful to the people that I work with. If you come in and you're like, "Hey, if you need logos and overlays, hit me up."
Right.
I'm like, I literally was like, I kind of feel like you're shit talking the person who does my logos and overlays,
Right.
Because you're like coming in here and saying, if you want new ones, like hit me up. And it's like, it's just not a good way to promote
Just
yourself because
tacky
it's just
at
not
the very
effective.
least. Yeah.
The chances of me clicking on your link are like slim to nil.
Hmm.
It's just spam. That's what you think of it as. It's just spam. as opposed to like hitting somebody up individually, like, hey, here's some of the examples of the work I've done. Or, if I mention something like, oh, yeah, I really want overlays for Deadpan Diaries. I hate the ones Cobra made. They're so ugly. Someone wants to come up and be like, oh, well, if you need help, like, if it's relevant,
Yeah.
go for it. If it's not relevant, it's spam.
Well, even you just touched on something that's really funny too. It's just like, in general, there are people that try to advertise things that way. Don't ever do that. It's just never a good idea. Like, don't slander someone to advertise your thing. Like, Cobra's a sacred golden goose egg man of the
Sorry,
awesome.
Cobra.
No, it's a good example though, because this happens all the time where people will be like, not even with my Twitch chat, just like in general, people go about things that way. I even like relationship advice. It always goes back. I feel like James Spader. It's like it's always about sex, but someone will be like, "You can do way better than that person." It's like, more often than not, that person's a pretty big fan of who they're with or whatever, even if they're having a tough time. So when you're like, "They suck," you can do better. They'll look at you and be like, "Ooh, you're weird."
I don't like when people do that.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. It's happened to me. And it turns me off of that person.
Yeah. It's a common thing. Don't do that.
And I've been around people that are like, I don't know why he's with her. And I'm like, maybe she's really nice. Maybe she makes him laugh. Like, you're such a dick. Like, it makes me look down on that person. Even if it's not my significant other they're talking about. When I see somebody do that to someone else, like, I don't know why he's with her. He could do better than that. I'm like, you don't know that. Maybe she's a great cook and they have great sex and they have maybe they play board games together every night. Like, well, I don't know. She comes off as a bitch to you because you think he could do better than her. I would come off as a bitch to you too. Like,
yeah. Well, that's funny.
Like that. That's icky. Don't be that person.
Don't
be that person.
No, don't be that person. Another quick don't. This is like nitpicky of nitpicky. I want to see if you feel this way because I think it might be different. But if I say don't do something in the chat, or if I'm like, hey, please don't do that, please don't ironically then do exactly that. This is the weirdest Pavlov's dog in Twitch chat I've ever seen in my entire life. I'll be like, guys, don't talk about that. And then they'll be like, talk about it. But in like all caps or like with slash sarcasm or like the laughing face. And I'm like, it's not funny. Don't do that. I'm like, relax, man. I'm just kidding. But it happens all the time. And maybe that's the culture in another chat, like I said. That's always the catch-all. But for me,
yeah,
it's a vibe thing. Because if I'm saying don't do that, that's not funny and cool. And that doesn't make people electrified to talk about stuff. But it's like oftentimes it's someone repeating something over and over again. So I just have to be like, please don't. And then like 5 people will be like, now we're doing it. And I'm like... And that's why I said I'm like the mayor holding the keys to autism town because I'm like, guys, it's a human saying please stop, and they're like, yeah, we're just kidding though, and I'm like, but
I mean, I just accept that it's going to happen.
ugh,
That's
fine. I'm out in the ocean. I'm like pushing it back.
I definitely
like,
roll
no.
my eyes at it a little bit, but I realized I can't prevent it. Like I'll sit here and I'll be having like this is my personal example of it. I'll be sitting there talking about something and I think I'll be totally reasonable and someone will be like, oh, what is Bronze ranting about this time? And I'm just like, okay, I'm not ranting. I'm just talking. And then people will start putting like the triggered emotes and stuff. And I'm like, nope. Cause the second I say like, okay, or you could acknowledge that I'm just like a person and I'm like, like I'm not ranting. I'm not triggered. I'm just passionate. And this is how it comes out. But when I do that, it happens 10 times as much.
Mm-hmm.
So now in my head, I just like don't read. It's like a mental block. Like I just don't read what those people write anymore.
Well, that one I'm fine with. Mine's
that
maybe
or I'll
too
fucking troll the
specific.
shit out of people.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like Morrigan in Dragon Age. I'm like, okay, can people just like every 5 seconds, Morrigan's so hot, Morrigan's so this. Can you just fucking stop? I added it to the ban filter. So anytime anybody writes any spelling variation, I've thought of almost all of them of that bitch's name. Yeah. You get timed out for like 2 minutes. You can't talk. Because that's what happened. The reverse happened where I'm like, okay, please stop talking about how much you want to fuck her. I get it. You've never had sex and you're fantasizing over your digital waifu. I'm just trying to play a video game, man. And now every single time someone mentions it, timeout. And I feel bad because sometimes someone new in chat will come in and they're like, wait, why did I get timed out? And I'm like,
oh my God.
You spoke the name.
Do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear what you're...
They deserve it.
Your Twitch chat kept talking about how they wanted to fuck Morrigan, who's literally a character completely based off of just a video game, a dated video game, by the way. So it's like pixelated and shit.
I know.
This is our life.
And all they do is talk about how hot she is, Jeff. You understand how crazy that makes me?
Oh, too well. Horrifying.
Like,
well.
And then she's so rude. Like, she's so just like bitchy to your character for no reason. But dudes are into that. They're into like really hot, like mean girls. And so the amount of people that are like, oh God, Morrigan's so hot. Don't put that armor on her. It'll cover her up. Because she's like half naked. I just don't want to hear people talk about her anymore. And I've never freaked out like that. Like, I've played tons of games with hot bitches and people are like, oh man, I love Yennefer. This is the first time, it's the Dragon Age community. It's the first time I've been like, oh my God, if one more person says Morrigan is waifu or Morrigan's the best, I am going to find a, like, please find another hobby other than watching this game and beating your dick to her. Like, please find something else. Oh my
God.
Watch Overwatch porn or something. Stop coming to my channel and talking about how hard she makes you. Like, I'm just so over it. She's not even that cute. She's like dated pixels. Like, she looks like a bird.
It's Claudia Blackman. That voice
tell?
drives people wild.
And people say that too. People say that it's bronze. It's not because of her. It's because of Claudia. Oh my God. No one cares what it's because of. Stop it. See, now that's a rant.
It's pretty good.
But I've learned from being like, oh my God, can you please stop talking about how hot she is? It increased, and I was like, we have to add it to the banned words filter, or my life is going to be me. I'm going to explode. I'm going to explode like St. Helens. I'm just going to explode and incinerate the entire Puget Sound because holy shit.
That's
thirst
amazing.
Levels for those fucking pixels from 10 years ago is insane. I get it. Claudia Black voiced her. I get it. Her backstory flushes out her bitchiness. I get it. I get it.
All right, this is not at all what I was talking about, but this is amazing that we uncovered this. Also horrifying, and thank you to my chat. We must all be well sexed or something. I don't get it, or maybe it's the bronze magic that brings it out. But there's also not a lot of sexy girls in the games I play. But Morrigan's, it's a 10-year-old game. That's amazing. If you can get there,
from Morrigan.
Good for you guys. That's some itchy trigger fingers, I guess.
No,
that's amazing.
Not good for you. Not good. No.
Well, yeah, no, probably not good. But that's, I mean, there is some coming of age in your channel. I'll tell you what. I don't know. Voice actress. That's so interesting to me. God, her voice is so hot. I can't do it. No, I'll be like. My example is I'll be like, hey, please don't ask me about that. Or like it'll be, you saying, hey, I don't want to talk about my my dead pet. And someone will be like, how's your dead pet? / sarcasm. And I'll be like, I want to reach through the internet and pull their head through and then close the portal and just have their decapitated head and be like, that is what should happen every time.
They're the same type of person that like someone will post, like usually a hot girl will post like a photo of their pet pig or something like that. This is the person that comments, bacon. Because they think it's funny. Like, what I'm talking about? You and I probably would think that joke is so fucking lame. It's such a stupid joke. It's not about being offended. It's not about taste. It's just like...
It's just so bad.
Yeah, it's just such a bad joke. No. Like, these are the people that would... if you, God forbid, you've ever worked retail, it's the worst job in the world, that come up to you and they're like, this doesn't have a price tag on it. Does that mean it's free? It's the same people that are then going to be like, I know it'd be funny. Jeff said, don't ask about this. I'm going to ask about it. It's the same people. And I don't think they realize how many times people have asked me, this doesn't have a price on it. Is it free? In my
I'm
mind,
glad I'm laughing with you because I can share the laugh
upon you.
When I'm by myself, the walls are closing in. I'm like, people are not funny anymore. It's the worst. I'd be like, guys, please don't use the word gay. That's not good. And someone would be like, well, that's gay. And I'll be like, oh, wow. Didn't see that coming. And then they'll be like, oh, I can't believe you What's so wrong with gay? And like we have this weird, like they'll try to have this weird debate. I'm just like, guys. Thankfully, it's rant inducing, and everyone, all my regulars, you know this. Like when that happens, but a man can only rant so many times. So that's my don't. But like I said, there's other chats where maybe that is the funniest thing said there. So have at it. But for me, I hate it. I might hate it the most. Which is, if there's any trolls in the chat, that's sad to admit. But I mean, we're also quick to ban, so you'll get your one in. But oh my god, someone will be like, I literally will get questions like, "Hey, is Barristan still alive?" And I'm like, "That's a terrible question. Why did
That's
you
a
ask
terrible
that?" And they'll
question.
be
It's a
like,
terrible
another
question.
person will be like, "What's so wrong with that? Like, he just wants to know if he's okay." And I'm like, please, let's get the conversation away from is my dog still alive? Like, this is like my best friend in the whole world. And they're like, okay, Jesus. And then the next guy will be like, is Barristan alive? And I'm like, oh, yes, that's great.
It's terrible. It's terrible
There'll
because
come a day when
like
he's not, and you'll see
I
I'll
know,
snap.
and
I'll die. Can't do that.
yeah, it's because there's no good answer to that.
Yes.
And if you're like, well, I was just curious. Here's like the normal human, like I want to have friends way to ask that. Be like, hey, haven't seen Barristan in a while. Where's he at?
That's, and
That's
then
like,
that's okay. And I never snap again. I'm
yeah.
just like, oh, he's
Or
on the
like, has
couch.
Barristan found a new place to roost other than the couch? Like, you ask it like a normal fucking human being. You know, be like, oh, did you move his dog bed? Where is he at? Don't fucking sit there and say,
Yeah.
oh, is he alive? Like, imagine if he just passed. Then
Oh,
you're
can't show
asking a
him.
terrible, stupid fucking question.
Yeah. And it'll
Oh my
happen.
god.
The day's coming.
Just like people would say that about animals too. Like my pet hedgehog, people be like, oh, like I live in a country where they eat those. I'm like, cool. What do you want me to fucking say to that? I've had it before. It's delicious. Awesome.
Oh my god.
Cool. What the fuck do you want? A medal? Like, and if you're like, okay, well, you shouldn't get offended. I'm not offended. I just don't like you. And so if your goal was to get me to like notice you and like you failed. I think that's the thing too. Is so many people be like, "Well, Jeff, why do you find that offensive?" It's not offensive. He just doesn't like you now. Congratulations. You've made yourself like just generally unagreeable.
Yeah. More of an ethos thing. I want to address this because we talked about this a couple times. So the online daycare says,
Mhm.
and this is why I usually only lurk in the shadows. So one of the other things I want to put on the backdrop of all this, because Bronze and I are being very candid and pretty specific about examples, and this is terrible, and we really don't like this and stuff like that. But I really want to put out there, you're going to be wrong, or you're going to step over a line, and that's okay. That's completely fucking okay. I want to go back to something I said. Bronze resonated with this. I felt some of the best interactions I have is where I'm like, dude, that's not okay. And when that person's like, shit, man, I didn't mean it that way. Super sorry. And then I'm like, oh my god, it's an adult, and it's just this really great thing. So you can do like to everything we just said. Be that guy that's like, hey, I'm streaming, and for Bronze, I'm like, fuck, don't advertise your shit. Be like, I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry. Maybe Bronze still won't forgive you, but whatever. I'm not saying do that with the risk of being forgiven. I'm just saying you will make mistakes because the Twitch chat to streamer interaction is fucking weird. It's tough, right? There's a lot of people
Mhm.
there talking to a singular person. That person is like the god of their community, but that's tough too because they're a human, so they have weaknesses and they want people to feel comfortable, but at the same time there's boundaries that are getting crossed that the other person doesn't even know are being crossed because they're just one of a mass. It's okay to be wrong. It's how you handle that, and it's the interaction from there. And I think that would almost be like the one of the biggest ending points for this is I'm like, listen, Bronze channel, by the way, she like jumps down people's throats on shit, so I can see why, and I'm the same. Where people would be like, well, I don't want to ever say anything. I
Mhm.
guess, but you should probably try saying shit. And if she jumps down your throat, be like, all right, you're right. Yeah, fuck that. Sorry. And then you're one of the people. And now you're part of a community of people. And I see her regulars in here, and I know she's yelled at each and every one of them or on some level, or at least joked with them and shit like that. Because for me, it's the same. I look at my regulars and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I yelled at that guy. I yelled at that guy. I'm gonna use a story. He's not even in here right now. Jamaican Benji is like a 5-year sub to me or something, and I can't exactly recall, But one of our first interactions was he was like, what was it? I think he asked for coaching, and I was like, sure. And then we messaged each other, and it was about price or something. And then he like skipped out on 5 sessions, I believe, and then asked for a refund. And I was like, no, that's my time. And he was like, that's fucked up. I was getting it for like so and so. And then we talked it out. And then since then, he's been a sub for 5 years. I probably got that story terribly wrong, which is kind of cool because to be honest, it doesn't matter what we
Yeah,
started
it's
with.
like
But the
water
point
under the bridge,
is,
legitimately.
yeah, we fucked up. We got mad at each other. He had to message me in private. And then since then, he's been a big part of the community and always stops by. And that's, my chat is populated by people that way.
I have stories like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of the time when people think I'm pissed, I'm not that pissed. Like there's people now that are like, Bronze will never forget. It's probably you just can't take a joke.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what it is. Somebody will make a joke and then I will respond in kind. And then they're like, I didn't like that. To me, it's like, okay, well, now you know how it feels.
Yeah.
You know? So like that's usually just the case. It's like normally because that's like my sense of humor a lot of the time too.
Yep. So
I've only legitimately gotten pissed on stream in like 4 years of streaming or 3 years of streaming. I've
Yeah.
only legitimately gotten super pissed off on stream maybe like 2 to 5 times. And that's like most of the time I'm just like mildly annoyed at best,
Mhm.
or I just like I think it's funny to make fun of someone. Um and the thing is like Tooch. Tooch always used to annoy the hell out of me because he's like a PC master race kind of guy. And I remember roasting him to filth one day. I was like, maybe the reason you critique other people's builds is because you're too broke to make your own dream PC. So you fucking sit here backseating other people on how to build their own PCs when it's none of your fucking business. And he was like, you're right. I'm going to stop. And I immediately like upgraded him from like an F to like a B. I was like, damn, I used to think you were a piece of garbage. I was going to have to fucking ban. And now I don't feel that way.
Oh yeah. It's a huge
Like
turnaround.
but it literally came from me being like, dude, no one fucking cares what you would build, like, because he
Mhm.
would be that guy. And I remember having that conversation with him, and it was like a good thing that everybody in chat learned from. But it's weird because, like, I guess, like, I don't know if I could try to put like a summary on all of this. I know this is gonna come off as like super shitty because it's like two streamers that are like, this is how you thrive in Twitch chat and blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah. But I think the takeaway is that none of us are perfect, and this whole live stream chat platform is fairly new.
Mhm.
And it's best to kind of like, if you're one of those people that's like terrified to talk or unsure of how to talk, the best thing you can do is sit back and gauge how things flow.
Yeah.
A second thing, best thing you can do is just like, if something does go south, like address it directly with the person,
Yep.
you know, and 9 times out of 10, it'll be better. Yeah. I don't know.
I
That's like probably not the most eloquent way to put
No, I
it,
love it
but
though, and I identify a lot with that. I had a very interesting interaction with somebody a few days ago. It kind of caught them off guard, I guess. But for instance, I too am one of those funny people where I actually have been mad on stream, like actually mad. I don't know, 5 times in the 10 years I've been streaming. But I
mhm.
get a lot of times people are like, "You're always mad." No, it's a lot of it's played up for ranting and stuff like that. But one of those 5 times was recent. A guy was a sub, a legitimate sub, and he was arguing with me about something, and I got to a point where it was kind of heated, and I used the word retarded, and that's something I don't like to do. I think it's wrong. I think it's bad. I think you can use different things in your language to convey the same stuff, and it's insensitive to people that actually deal with that. But I did, out of emotion, and they were like, "Checkmate! You just said that, and that's terrible, and you should never do that." And I was like, "You're right. That was wrong, and I'm sorry. I should not use that language. I got my emotions ahead of me, and I should not have done that." But that does not stop the fact that the way you're interacting right now is inexcusable. And I manage communities, so I'm going to ban you now. And you're like the third sub I've ever banned in my entire life. I'm really upset. This sucks. I feel bad. But this was not okay. And I love that you said we're humans, we're going to fuck up, because that's something that kind of catches people off guard. But I hope more people can identify that way, where it's like, you will fuck up. You will say something wrong. I'm the streamer. I'm in control of a community, but guess what? I fuck up almost every day. I go too hard on somebody, or I'm too grumpy, or I should have been more open to talking to somebody about this kind of thing. Like, I constantly self-reflect on that. And if someone calls me out on it legitimately, I'll be like, yeah, you're right. But that doesn't stop my responsibility as well from needing to manage a group of people that this is their kind of place to hang out and feel welcomed and a part of something. So if I use language that moves away from that, I need to be open to being like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't do that, and I'm sorry. But at the same time, I'll still ban your ass. And I can be wrong, and I'll try to do better. But if you're just like fighting that and not willing to accept it, you'll be gone. And that's a weird thing for people to try to have to accept, but I don't know. It's interesting interaction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Somebody has a question, which I think it will be super quick to answer, which is, as a streamer, how do you guys try to stay politically correct with your viewers? Are there subjects that you stay away from? I don't think either one of us is politically
No.
correct. We are not. That's actually a great takeaway from all of this is that there's different kinds of communities on Twitch. There are some that cast a wide net, and I think Jeff and I are both people we cast a narrow net.
Hmm.
So if you come in and you're just like, Bronze, how do you feel about the situation in Palestine? You might get an actual answer
Right.
because I don't really care about like, and the thing with me is somebody can come in and say, I voted for Trump and I don't immediately hate them. I am very much a person that can like I have people in my chat that are conservatives. I have people in my chat that
Hmm.
are like super religious. I have people in my chat like the entire spectrum. And as long as they're mature enough to understand that I will probably not agree with them on stuff and I am definitely mature enough to know that I'm not going to agree with them on stuff,
Yeah.
we're fine. We're fine. It's not, and you're the same way. So we're not politically correct. I am totally the type of person that will sit here and be like, I hate the two-party system. I'm not really a Democrat or a Republican. I'm actually somewhere in the middle. I'm a fiscal conservative, but a
Hmm.
social libertarian. I know there's gonna be people out there that are like, I don't like that. You're wrong. You're the and to those people, it's like, as long as you can be like, you know what? I don't agree with you, but I respect your opinion. You're cool to come kick it
Yeah.
with us, man. I'm the type of person that I wore my "Make Azeroth Great Again" hat on Deadpan Diaries. I could tell you right now, there have been other times I've worn that hat and people have been like, "That's really distasteful. You're making light of a really serious issue." And I laugh at those people because their upsettedness fuels me.
Yeah. I feel like we could almost do a whole episode on this because I love it. Because this is, again, that falls into that area you've heard us talk about a lot where it's like, there is no right answer here. Both of us are not politically correct, but that
Mm-mm.
doesn't mean I'm insensitive to every issue. And sometimes I will absolutely cross that line. So I'm a guy that, like, if you push me hard enough, sometimes I'll say I fucked your mom or something like that, and we'll joke about it. That's
Mhm.
insensitive. That's vulgar and that's
Oh,
bad. And
yeah.
there's people who can be like, I really don't like that, and they're not wrong. Like, it's not that I go, well, I should be able to joke about having sex with everybody's mom. It's like, no,
Yeah.
time and place, and sometimes I'm wrong, and sometimes I go too far. Like, it's a weird gray area where I acknowledge that my humor and my personality can absolutely step over lines, and it's not that I want you to be uncomfortable and feel bad, and I don't want to hurt you. It's just that it's possible, and I will be quick to apologize or even stand my ground sometimes too. Like, because that's the part that I've learned is sometimes I'll be like, I hate Zerg. They're gross and slimy, and somebody will be like, excuse me, slimy things are my sexual attraction, and you're like kind of hurting my feelings about that. And I'll be like, well, okay, but you're weird to me, and I'm gonna keep making slimy jokes.
I'm the same way. I'm 100%
Yeah,
the same
they'll be
way.
like, don't use the word damn, please. In our household, that's not okay. I'll be like, the
Yeah,
fuck did you
yeah,
just
there's people
say?
I was gonna say, there's people that tell me that, like, I cuss too much, and I'm like, "Son, you're gonna have to get the fuck on
Yeah,
out of here." I will usually play it up because 'cause I'm like, "I'm not gonna change that about myself."
right.
And you might sit there and say, "But I like watching in the morning with my kids." That's amazing. That's awesome. I do not do a kid-friendly stream. I'm really sorry. Like, and it sucks to tell somebody that's really cool. That's
Yes.
like, "Oh, well, we as a family pull you up on the big screen." And it sucks because some of these people are, like, legitimately awesome.
Yeah.
And I have to sit there and be like, I don't do a family friendly stream. It's not me, man. We play adult games. We played a game today where 2 dwarves had fucking sex, and it was like you heard the sounds and everything.
Ugh.
I don't think that
I'm
wow,
just kidding.
that's a bet. I'm just kidding.
Dwarves can have sex. Yeah.
But, like, there was, like, a whole you could see my character's whole ass in a thong and shit like that. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I if you were watching that with your children, probably not the most appropriate
Sure.
stream, okay? I don't run the most children appropriate channel,
Yep.
and I can't change that about myself because that's just not me.
And
Even if I
it's
were to fix the language, and this was my justification for it. Even if I was to fix the language, the content of the stuff I talk about is so adult that it still wouldn't be appropriate for children.
And it's okay, at least for me and Bronze, you can agree or disagree, but like I'm okay with you telling me that. Someone can be like, I didn't like this thing, and here's why. But you have to be open again to Bronze or I being like, well, that's my channel. That's the kind of stuff we joke about, and I'm sorry that that caught you off guard, but that's what we do here. And it's okay for you to be like, I'm going to take my business or my eyes or my views elsewhere. Probably don't announce that to the channel because that's like the most cliche, silly, stupid thing that it just doesn't look good. By the way, for everyone
People
in the
will
chat
make
that know
fun
it,
of you.
yeah, it's just bad. Where you're like, well, I'm gonna go off to this other channel, and you're like, all right, don't let the door hit your ass. You know, like nobody, nobody's like, come back. Oh no, okay, well, and that's interesting because that's a there's weird back and forth there, right? Like, did Jeff just say that he sometimes use language he doesn't like, but then also say that he's going to use language that people don't like? Yeah, both are absolutely true, and I've been wrong, but I've also been in Braun's situation and am in Braun's situation where sometimes I'll be like, no, I'm going to use adult language, and also this is my channel, so like if it really hurts your feelings, please get the fuck out. And I'll be like, oh my god,
Mhm.
yeah, that's I don't know, I will do that. So that's interesting. But let's wrap up. It's been a nice show and meandering as was predicted. But is there any? You guys are the Twitch chatters, so I do want to open up to a few moments here of questions.
Was this
Ideally,
helpful for you?
yeah.
Did it help? Because
Does it make
when people
sense?
say I'm afraid to type in your chat, it does make me feel bad because
Yeah.
I don't want, and I hope that like when you realize like, and I'm sure I can speak for Jeff on this too. When
Mhm.
we like ban you, that doesn't mean we hate your guts. Like typically you can message us and get it undone. And second of all, like when we roast
Absolutely.
you, we're usually just joking. Because I've seen Jeff roast people too. We're
It's
usually
always
just
just content. Yeah. I haven't actually had sex with anyone's mom at all.
yeah. People are like, "Oh, do you like Bronze is that big dick energy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you should ask your mom how big it is. Tell that bitch to stop wearing lipstick. Took me forever to get that off."
Oh my god.
You know, like I'm just joking. And if you're like, "Ew, gross, not for me." That's cool. I'm probably not going to change. I don't know where this came from. Sometimes I'm ashamed of it, honestly. But
Yeah. Cobra made a couple highlights where I went in hard, and I was like, yeah, all right.
yeah, there's times where like people in real life are like, "I stopped by your stream." And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Appreciate the comments. A lot of people saying that this opened up their eyes a little bit. Social anxiety, this helped a lot. Yeah, I think it's interesting because the experience is so dehumanizing in general. It's one of the reasons we love this platform of the show is because it's like I think when you talk it out and hear both sides, it humanizes a lot of stuff too. Because again, I don't really think there's evil people lurking around trying to absolutely eviscerate people as Twitch chatters, even the trolls. It's mostly just people dealing with shit and they're just dealing with it poorly. And you know, trying to do better is like just what you should do in general in life anyways, Twitch chat or otherwise.
Yeah, I try to do better too. I
No?
still have anxiety about the fact that there's probably people that I totally went off on that didn't deserve it
Yes.
years ago that probably still think of me as a monster because I've grown so much. And I know that the people who have watched me consistently have seen me grow
Yeah.
so much in terms of like interacting with people. I think I used to blow up and pop my top, you know, and just
Mm-hmm.
like get angry so much more of the time. And now I feel like I can have a laugh about that stuff more often. You know, there was a time where I would sit there and time people on and be like, stop backseating. And now most of the time I'm just like, or you could just let me play how I want to play since you know it's my first time playing. You could let me do that.
Yeah, it's interesting to
Then
hear you
when you
say that.
say you could stop it with the sass, then I'll probably still drag you. But
It's
you
tough for
know,
me
like
because I'm actually
we grow too.
I have different anxiety. I've never not slayed someone that didn't deserve it. And I'm like, how long can I keep this up? You know what I mean? Like it's been a
Hmm.
perfect score for my entire life.
Yeah.
I
You're
like
just perfect.
you just mentioned Morgan and there's like ugh,
What?
just people.
Talking about Morgan?
Yeah, they're just it's just funny. Like every time you mention Morgan, there's like a whole bunch of people that are now mentioning it because they don't get banned
Yeah.
for it here.
I mean, like, the funny thing is like sometimes I can deal with something, but my chat can't. And for me, like, so much of my energy and my happiness comes from like my chat, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm very blessed to have a very solid group of people that watch me every day. And so something might not get to me, but if it gets to my mods where they're like, "Holy fucking shit, shut the fuck up," like it will get to me.
The
Like,
pixels heavy breathing.
yeah. Like if somebody's sitting there like, "For real though, what race is she? For real though, like she's not Scottish and Irish, what race is she?" And when my mods are like, "Why does it matter? Why do you care?" I'm like, "Just ban them, guys. I don't want
Yeah.
you to be upset over this. It's not worth it." Half the time it doesn't even bother me, it bothers my chat, you know?
Which is a thing.
Which is a thing. If it bothers them, it will eventually bother me
Yeah.
because I want them to be happy. I like you guys. I want you to be happy.
But also a
But when there's
streamer
one
has
person
to
that's like,
address
she
something.
has nice lips, that I know there's going to be like most of my mods, I feel like are women. They're just going to be sitting there like, God, that's so fucking creepy. I will ban it before they do because I
Oh my
know that
God.
they are wonderful people and they're going to sit here and try to reason with this cuck. No, it's okay. Girls, you don't have to.
Oh my God.
They're so tired of the ethnicity question. I think they're more tired of it than I am.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's funny because it creates this downward spiral. So people will be like, "Why don't you just put your ethnicity on your overlay?" And it's like, because dude, if you start doing that shit, it's not like it goes away. It goes to the next question, and then you're getting bullied like
Yeah.
indirectly by weird questions that just don't need to be asked anyways. And people are like,
And
"Well, you
it
need
just
thicker skin."
like
Then it's like, we do.
it
We do have thick
never
skin.
goes anywhere. Like the other day I had an Uber driver that was like, "What race are you?"
Oh,
And I was like, in Indian. They're like, "Really?" And I was like,
really?
"Uh, yeah." And this is a grown ass man. We're talking like 45 years old. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, "You don't look it." And I was just like,
Okay.
God.
Uber driver, you said?
And they're like, "It's not a morning person." I'm like, "I'm just not a you person."
You
I
said
literally
that?
said that. Yes. Cause I was just like, I don't, what do you want me to say? Like, yeah, I don't look in, like, what do you want me to
Oh
say?
my God.
Like, like, am I crazy? Like, where the fuck
No.
am I supposed to say, "Oh, you don't look Indian"?
My next show is
Like,
just
what do I
attaching
say?
a
What do
camera
I
to you. Yeah, I
say?
just want you to be on a camera. I just want all these weird interactions you have.
Like, "Oh, thanks." Like, what do I say to that? And it's like, "Oh, not a morning person." No, just not a you person. Shut the fuck up and drive. Like, I've never been that rude to an Uber driver before. I was on the way to the airport. It was like 6 a.m. in the morning. I was like, I don't like some people are just curious. I get that people are curious, but like I don't know where to take that. Like your curiosity is like strange to me.
Absolutely,
Cuz
Slendy.
I don't know where to take that. Or to be like, "Oh, Jeff, you're white. What ethnicity are you?"
That's why you need a troll. I've probably given like 3 serious answers in my whole life. Every time I always get asked like, "Why are you in town?" And I had like 4 buddies in the Uber, and I was like, "We're here for a UFO convention." And I like look out the window, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's the season." And they'll be like, "A UFO convention?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Where are you going to be tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm with my family." I'm like, "Good, stay close." And then the conversation dies, and my friends are just like looking at me like, "Come on," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I mean, it never like nobody's ever had a really cool follow-up. Like people are like 0 for 10 on that. I'm serious. Like it's never been like, "Oh, what race are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, Indian." And they've had like a really good follow-up. Usually it's like it's never good. It's usually like, "Really?" And it's like, "Yeah. Are you mixed?" No.
Ugh.
Or it'll be like, "Oh, my cousin is dating one of you. You guys have
Yeah.
arranged marriages, right?" And I'm like,
Oh my God.
"Cool." Like it's never I'm serious. 0
Oh,
for
I know.
10. I've never had a single person that had like a really awesome follow-up and was like, "Oh, I thought so because of this, that, and the other," where I've had a good it's like never been a good follow-up. It's always like, "I thought you were Puerto Rican."
Do you get that a lot? It's
Are
Puerto Rican.
yes. And I'm like, "Are you Puerto Rican?" "No." Okay. I
Just say
dated Puerto
yes.
Rican
It's the
once,
easier
and I'm
one.
just like, "Okay, cool." I don't know, like, so now my go-to answer is usually like, what race are you? Scottish and Irish." "Really?" "Yeah."
Just very tanned.
And then they just stand there and they stare at you.
Yeah.
"Really?" "Yeah." "You're lying. You
You
could have
ever
just not
thought of just
answered."
being white though? We don't get asked that question.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start asking it. "Jeff, what race are you?"
No, you don't ask white people that.
Now I'm going to.
You're
I'm
not a
asking
race.
it now. I'm doing it now. This is my revolution.
Yeah.
This is the hill I die on.
You're gonna get in an Uber and it's a white dude and be like, "What race are you?" And he's like,
Yes,
"I'm from Boston."
say, "Where are you from?" And when they're like, "Oh, East Coast," and from New York, I say, "No, where are you from?
What's
like,
your race?
Grandparents from?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they're like Polish, I'm be like, "Sweet, I had a Polish dog once."
Like the sausage?
I'm not gonna stop. I'm going all the way with it. Okay.
That's good.
When they're like, "Oh, I'm Dutch," I'm gonna be like, "I love stroopwafels."
Yeah.
I'm not stopping.
That's good. It's not the same, but the one I get every time is I'll slide into an Uber or whatever, and they'll be like, "What do you do for a living?" And I made this mistake 3 times. I'll be like, "I'm a professional gamer" or something at the various stage of my life. They're like, "Huh, my nephew plays the Mario. Which one did you make for the Electronic Arts?" And I'll be like, and the question's just so off base and it's so not anywhere near what I actually do, and nobody cares. That's the worst part too. Is I think they think that I want this conversation. But a couple times I was being good Jeff in the back of a car, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm like a commentator, like Bob Costas. Do you know who that is?" And they're like John Madden? Sure, John Madden, just like that. And they're like, "Oh, and people pay you for that?" No, no, they don't. Like that's the conversation. So now when people are like, "What do you do for a living?" I'll be like, "I'm in the entertainment industry," and they'll be like, "What do you mean?" I'll be like, "You know what I mean," and then the conversation stops right there.
Yeah. I think my new favorite one is like, I always say I'm a professional poker player. And they're like, "Oh, what are you checking in for?" When I check into a hotel, I'm like, "I'm a professional poker player." And they're like, "Haha." And I'm like, and they're like, "Oh shit." And I'm like, "Yeah, I came to win." So, and
I'm
they're
here
just
for the
like,
money.
"That's really cool. Like, how'd you get into that?" And I'm like, "How do you think I got into it?" And they're usually like, "Well, here are you need just one key for your room. Here's your room key.
Yeah,
It's open till 10. I'm like, "Thank you. Probably not going to use it. Got a lot of work to do.
I'll play poker.
Gotta play poker." I say that to everybody now. Airport, TSA, everything. I'm like, "I'm
That's
a
good.
professional poker player." And they're always like,
But you're a
first
woman
they
from
laugh.
Puerto
At
Rico.
first they laugh. They're like, "Haha." And then I'm like, and they're just like, "Oh, how'd you get into that?" I'm really fucking good at what I do. Mhm.
Tell people you're a jockey that races horses. That's the one I want to see.
I'm too tall for that.
I know, right? That's what they'll say.
They would never buy that.
They're big horses. They're Clydesdales. You haven't seen that? I race Clydesdales.
With
Move it
your
along,
build,
please.
no one would believe that, Jeff. With your build?
Oh no, not me. You have to do that.
Oh, I don't think anybody would believe that with my build.
But maybe they would. We won't know till we try. All right. Well, that was episode 15, guys. It was, we put up the questions. It was just people saying that mostly this was helpful, so that's good to hear. If you have questions, though, I'll be checking the YouTube chat, the comments as time moves on. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And thank you, Cobra, for setting this up. Bronze, do you have anything coming up or anything you're doing? Hell
Just
no.
streaming.
We don't even have. Do we have our show tomorrow?
Mm-mm. I think
No.
Jesse's gonna get back to us, right? On
Well,
whether or not he has Wi-Fi. Because
maybe
he's at
we. Yeah.
CoxCon. He said that as of yesterday, he said it all depends on the Wi-Fi at the Airbnb.
Yeah.
So
Probably
hopefully
not then.
we'll know.
We will see. But make sure and follow Bronze on Twitter if you like her rants and raves. She does it there with a lot of good gifs as well. Good giffer, that
I'm
one.
pretty good with my gifts. It's true.
You're very good. For me personally, we will be streaming some Warhammer here fairly soon, as per usual on our Tuesdays. So if that's interesting to you, check it out. And then this will be up on YouTube. So if you missed the entirety of this show and are worried about seeing it, you can either sub to the channel or you can watch it on YouTube for free in the next 48 hours. That's always the case. And I think we'll be back next week with another show, as per usual. So thank you guys so much. I'm gonna hit this transition button. Boop. You can still hear our voices, but you can't see our faces. Goodbye, everybody.
Seamless.